the devs are just typing away, and then there's like, oh my god, just hits the red button, alarms go off, and then it's like, what is it? It's like, sir, it's the feral druids. It's like, what is it? They're using a level 8 consumable. My god. It's like, they found out.
All right, welcome to episode 13 of Prepared, your weekly TBC breakdown. We got a lot of stuff to cover.
It's the Doomsday episode.
Yeah, the sky is falling. We're going to go back and revisit Hunters on DST Prio and DST Prio in general to kind of recap things as well. I thought it'd be interesting to go into how loot councils should work as well, because that kind of links into DST Prio and other things. And a lot of guilds are going to be, doing loot council stuff right now as well. And Blizzard fixed a bunch of stuff. It's funny, I feel like every week we talk about something and then the next week is like, Blizzard's, this is fixed. And it always comes out like 5 hours after our podcast or something. So then we have to go back in and be like, that thing we talked about, Blizzard fixed it.
Yep. I mean, it always happens like that, dude. That's the nature of like doing any type of content that's released later. Just to open up the podcast, fun fact, back when I was at Riot, there was a series called like Drive where they would like take a pro player and they would took like a month to put together. The features team would go out with them. They'd go to the beach. They'd talk about their backstory. They'd talk about what motivated them to be a player, their like rivalries, things like that. And they'd get prepared to release it, right? And then it would be released around the time of like the semifinals or the finals in terms of playoffs. And almost every single time without fail, that player wouldn't make it to the semifinals or finals when it would be released. So you'd be in the semifinals or finals and there'd be like a preview where it's like Acadian, Drive. And it's just like, why is this relevant to me? We're watching the semifinals between Cloud9 and TSM. What the hell is this? Like, it literally without fail, but it's been like a month or two in the making where they've been making it. And so like the features team was always like, they'd watch a game and they'd be like, please fucking win, please win. So it's relevant. It's like, please. Here's the Drive curse is what it ended up being. So we have a curse here where as soon as we talk about a bug and we go like, what the fuck, Blizzard? They fix it. So hopefully today we talk about all the bugs and they fix it. So
good luck with that. I hope the dev team is getting paid overtime, because Jesus Christ, I don't know how they're gonna fix everything.
Oh man.
But yeah, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. As well as that, I thought it'd be interesting to go back and recap like how the boost has affected the servers as well. Yeah, because now we actually get to see. Then we got some feral druid stuff. God, have you seen into that at all? The feral druid stuff, like the
yes,
Jesus
I have.
Christ, the things they have to do. But
I just imagine at fucking Blizzard, it's like the devs are just typing away, and then there's like, oh my god, just hits the red button, alarms go off, and then it's like, what is it? It's like, sir, it's the feral druids. It's like, what is it? They're using a level 8 consumable. My god. It's like, they found out. It's like, how they every single time that they make a change like this, like I told you guys about this with like slave pens, where I was like, there's going to be like unforeseen consequences when you try to like punish mage boosters and shit. People are going to be like, nah, we smart now. We gonna game the system. And it happens literally every single time where this like level 8 fucking consumable becomes the way to fix the problem. And I'm just always sitting there going, Blizzard, just let them play the game. Just let them play, right? Just let them play the game that they want to play. I'm a pretty big, like, not hands off, but a kind of like enable people to play the game the way that they want to play it without having to jump through gigantic fucking loopholes, right? So that's me though.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's funny, like the rogues were. I was discussing before the podcast started about the rogues and how rogues can technically do the trick, but we don't really gain much from it. And I was like, rogues, do you guys really even want this trick? Like, have you seen what the druids have to do? Like the rotation is insane now. The druid feral rotation is actually just insane right now.
Yep. Yeah, and the thing about the feral druid rotation is it's very particular too. You have to do it at 0.4 seconds.
Yeah, it's super. It's the most disgusting I've ever seen.
You do it too early, it's a DPS loss, and you have to wait 2 more seconds for an energy tick, or you have to use another potion or whatever. And if you do it too late, well, you're wasting energy and it's DPS loss. So it's like you got to do it at 0.4 seconds exactly. It's so dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, oh god, it is stupid. I do have it here though, so we can have a closer look at the rotation in a second. But I know we have a lot of hunters in the chat who are eager for they're frothing for the DST talk here that we have. You angered people, Zirene. You angered people last week.
Yes.
See, the funny thing.
Of course I did.
The funny thing about Zirene is that like yeah, sure, sometimes he might say something incorrect based on the like being given incorrect information or things like that. But he'll also be the first person to correct himself and be like, yeah, that was incorrect. Like I changed my thinking. Like that's just how it goes when you're like a theory crafter. Sometimes you form conclusions.
You have to.
And
you
then
have to adjust,
you just have to go back and adjust later. Like he's just working off the information that he has.
Yeah, and you have to be okay with having an opinion that other people don't agree with, and it's not popular. And you have to be kind of like grounded in whatever evidence you've been presented, or what other people have presented you. So yeah, I'm working with the information that I have, and I'm working with kind of like the idea of if I believe this is right now, then yeah, I will back it up. But if I have other evidence presented to me and it's shot down, I'm just like, all right, well, you guys are right.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, but I will seem stubborn sometimes because I will be the person who has an idea that other people don't back up because I believe it's like the new revolutionary idea type thing, right? So
yeah, and then if there's anything that's actually like really missed, we'll go back and then like revisit. Like we're fairly reasonable people. I think the funny thing is like when after the podcast went live on YouTube, like the hunters got a hold of it. and it went like Hunter Discord was a mess for a while. And at first, like I went in there to just try to get like some accurate numbers from them for what they think the numbers should be. And at first the reaction was like, who is this Snow guy? Like who is this Zirene guy? And like there was a lot of hostility. A lot of hostility. But I think like as like more hunters like looked into my stuff and they realized like, oh wait, no, he's not like someone that just clickbaits content. Like he actually does like numbers, analytical stuff. Like a lot of them are a lot nicer to me now. Because they're like, oh, okay, he seems like a reasonable person. At least he like looks back and like tries to analyze things and like reasons and such. So
yeah, I think the Pally Discord. Somebody was talking about the Pally Discord. Like I don't actually jump into a lot of the class Discords, because I feel like when I was in Fight Club, there was a lot of like I like them for like the stats and like the basic stuff, but beyond that, I feel like there's a lot of things that I just don't agree with. Like there was a point where people were telling me that the best TPS was Edgemasters human with Maladath, and I was like, really? You want that much weapon skill? They're like, yeah, it's the most consistent on pull and like reduces enough parry chance. And I was like, feel like that's not completely correct, but okay. And like there's things like that where I'm just like, I don't feel like it's completely like backed up in like real world sims, right? Or like real world like feel craft kind of thing. So yeah, it's just strange. So yeah, the Pally Discord, I think at one point was just like somebody said like the Pallies were happy that I said something about main tanking, and then they were just like, they didn't care who I was. They were just like, main tank Pally, this guy said it. Like,
it's funny. That's how it works for a lot of classes. Like I had to explain to them as well. It's like it's a podcast. It's like that's why I put the Loot Council talk on the description as well. Like some of the hunters were worried, like, oh wait, they're gonna take what Zirene says and make Loot Council decisions based on that. And it's like, guys, it's a 2-hour podcast. If your Loot Council is taking a 40-second clip from very early sims as evidence for like your Loot Council, you need better Loot Council members. Like that's just one line. You need better Loot Council members if your Loot Council is doing stuff like that. But it's I am curious though, Zirene. Do you know Kenneth? Are you familiar with Kenneth?
No. Who's Kenneth?
Yeah, just checking. No, he's like a super like I don't even know how to describe him. Like he's in every class Discord, and all he does is start debates about like about the sweatiness of allocations and things. Like he's like a super sweaty player. And he's someone that will fight to the death for like, no, this is beneficial for your guild here. So I don't care if the like this one class has been waiting for 5 phases for this one piece of item. No, it should go to the warrior, or it should go to this guy.
Okay, so
he starts fights nonstop in every single class Discord. I think he's banned from maybe like half of the class Discords now.
Kenneth, aka Edgemasters human.
And the other day I went into my guild Discord and I was like, oh god, Kenneth is in here. How is Kenneth in my guild Discord as well? Somehow he had infiltrated the off-topic section of my guild Discord in progress. Like, it's actually amazing.
Jesus. Yeah. And like I've been a loot council member on like 4 different loot councils. And I've run a few loot councils myself. And when it comes to items for me, I will typically pass on things just because I don't like taking loot in general. Like I was passing on CTS and it got forced on me. And then like with like things for my warriors, like when I literally rolled a second warrior, I said my other warrior is going to use THC and Thunder Fury at the end of the game. So I'm not going to roll another human. I know human is BIS, but I'm just going to roll a gnome because I don't want to get like a raid that is going to give me THC or Gressel or bindings or something like that, because I'm like, this is a character I'm rolling up in phase 4. And I feel like it's kind of shitty to roll up a character to be a new main tank. And then you could easily use daggers to tank for this raid and be completely fine and not take away like a THC, Gressel, or like some other item that is going to be used by warriors. And when like my warrior had like, I was using like Kelsarar until New Year's this year on my human. In my main hand. And I was kind of like, okay, maybe when Widows comes out, like I'll use Widows Castigator, right? And that would be what I was tank with, is Widows Remorse Castigator. Because I don't like taking things from other classes that I feel like use it best, or get a lot of use out of it. Because I feel like I can do my job without items, right? So I'm like, I'm not like a CLC or anything like that by any regards, but I think sometimes I do overlook things for people where I take a lot of difference in power, where it's like, what's the difference between like a main tank having a like Gressel offhand versus a like warrior having a Gressel main hand, or even like a warrior having a THC offhand versus me having something else that's comparable, like a Widow's Remorse in my main hand. So there's a lot of things like that I take into consideration, and I usually go for the one that is going to give the biggest boost to people in difference. So that's my personal thing.
It depends on your guild as well, right? It depends on your guild and your guild
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Like it changes so much. But we'll talk about that more in a second, because I know that the hunters want us to actually look at some stats and things. So I do have a bunch of stuff here. So we have a revised sim. So this is still like, take all of this still with a grain of salt, because these sims are still very early things. And sims, the thing about sims early on is that they can have mistakes in them, just because like they haven't been thoroughly tested and such. They haven't run the gauntlet of fire. So sometimes sims are still a little bit messy, especially at the start of phases and things.
Sims always depend on the math behind them. You can put in something into a number generator and then pop it out on the other side, and it's like, this is good, and you don't know why it's good, right? So the logic behind the previous one was active trinkets are better or almost as good for hunters because you can combine them with other cooldowns. And that was kind of the logic behind the previous one, was just the multipliers of stacking things. It's just kind of like how Blade Flurry and like Slice and Dice and Adrenaline Rush, you want to use them all at the same time kind of thing with the trinket. So
I mean, this is these are new updated hunter sims based on the only public hunter sim that I know of. There's a few more that aren't in use right now. Or not in use, aren't public right now. So this is the only like public access data that we have available. But so it basically shows that DST is, roughly speaking, if you don't have a DST, it's something like a 64 to 54 DPS increase, depending on what other actives and things that you use at the time. So the thing about DPS increases, like the DPS delta here, is that you have to take it with a grain of salt, because sometimes like a DPS increase can change a lot based on like the length of the fight, the actual
for sure.
the actual way the sim works and such. To give an example, I was trying to explain this on the Hunter Discord, is that there's multiple classes that you can have multiple sims that show the same thing, but the actual DPS numbers will differ a lot, but the percentage gain, if they're both good sims, will usually be similar. So usually when I look at like sim numbers, a lot of times I try to convert it into like a percentage gain loss, because just due to the way some sims work, sometimes you get like an extra like 500 DPS as a starting point, just based on the like the way some sims work. Like sometimes DPS numbers are inflated in certain sims just by a percentage.
And then, like you were saying, percentage I think is kind of what I go off of for my loot council stuff. Where what's the largest percentage increase for somebody? Because if somebody can make just like really good use of something else, even though it's like, it says here like DST Brooch is the best, then it's like, okay, well, what's like the DPS difference between it Brooch and Slayers or Brooch and Abacus, right?
Yeah.
And that's like it looks like a 2%, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So roughly speaking, I did the math. So I did the math, and then Simonize, one of the rogue sim people.
Yep.
Did more accurate math. It works out to be like a 1.76, I think 1.76, 1.73, something around there. DPS gain for hunters if they get a DST, roughly speaking. Now, again, these are very, very rough numbers, which is decent. It's a decent gain. Compare that to other classes. Rogues gain. I think he did the full maths. I did very rough sims that showed a 2%, but he updated them to 2.51% is the rogue gain in DPS for rogues. I'm not sure what it is for warriors. That's only one. I'm not sure what the percentage gain is for warriors.
I like how the rogue is. I like how the rogue DPS number is half of the hunter's DPS number.
See, that's the other thing with the sim. Like, it's tricky to look at sims because according to the hunter sim, they're doing 3,000 consistent DPS for a 180-second fight.
Well, it's melee weaving. They're melee weaving in this.
Yeah. Melee weaving.
And I don't know if this is including like potential Wind Fury totem on top of it too, right? Because it says enhancement shaman in group, but I don't know if it's like Wind Fury, yes.
I would assume it's with like in all the best scenarios if they're doing like 3,000 consistent DPS in that scenario. Yeah. But melee weaving is a whole nother topic we can talk about a little bit after this as well. But so basically it is technically better for the rogue than the hunter, but again, when it comes to loot council stuff, it's not necessarily something where you go, oh, okay, percentage gain higher for rogues than hunters. Okay, hunters down, zero on the loot prior. Now all rogues get it before the hunters. That's not really how the loot council stuff works. These are just like guides that you would take into account when you're doing the actual loot council stuff down the line. But it definitely is better for rogues, but again, this factors into the fact that, look, like realistically, the hunters are doing more DPS than the rogue in a lot of cases. So depending 100%. On your goal as a raid, you might still give it to the hunter. But personally, my thoughts is that the DPS difference is close enough that for most raids, like the average raid, not like a progress or a dream state or a top tier guild focused only loot council, I think for the average raid, it'd probably be somewhere like rogue, hunter, warriors, all equal-ish prio still. Like, I haven't seen anything that's really changed my mind.
When I look at this, I'm thinking, so what about if you go back to the sim, does he sim BNS on this?
Let me see.
Because one of the whole points was people are saying that you don't use DST at the end of the game for hunters, which I don't know if that's true or not. People are saying you use things like
I think you can replace it, but it's like a hard to replace kind of thing. Same deal with like most of the classes that get DST. It's like you can replace DST, but whether you actually will replace it is another question.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening, but yeah. So this just looks like phase 1 trinkets, right? He's using Slayers, Brooch, Hourglass, Abacus. Okay, so this is purely phase 1. That was one of the other things to consider was the potential in like later in the game of who uses it longer type thing, because it always feels bad when somebody throws away your BIS item and like shelves it when you would have still been using it type thing. So in this case, it looks like something where I would maybe then go your best hunter followed by rogue, best hunter, or second best hunter, warrior, and like alternate like that, because I feel like you're definitely going to have you have one rogue and you usually will have like one fury warrior, maybe 2 fury warriors or something. Depending on your raid, maybe more, we'll see. But the hunters for sure are obviously your highest DPS class or single target DPS class. And I actually, so just another thing to consider all right, let me just take a drink of water really quickly.
Oh God, are we going to go into enhance and ret talk? Where are we going with this?
No, I was going to talk about like, so enhancement shamans, obviously it's really good for them too. And these are people who are doing a supportive role and they don't get to do all of the super fun things that, a hunter gets to do. But then there's the other thing to consider as well on top of this from a loot council perspective of effort versus reward. Let's just assume everybody's putting in exactly the same amount of effort at all times, right? It's like if you are looking at a warrior, a hunter, if you're looking at 2 hunters, a warrior, and a rogue, and maybe an enhancement shaman, for DST first, you're looking at 5 different candidates. Your best hunter, your second best hunter, your rogue, your warrior, and then your enhancement shaman, right? Who are you giving it to first? You also have to consider long term, and this is something that I do as well. You know, maybe it's not the best idea for a loot council, but I also think who is getting glaives first, who is getting the first legendary bow, who's getting the first golden bow of Quell the Loss, and those types of things, right? Who's getting first mounting vengeance, etc. So I like to think about like things later on. I know you can here, and maybe this is why this is flawed, because you can only work with the loot that's in front of you. And I've had other loot council members be like, you don't know if this will ever drop again. So always treat an item that drops as if it's the only one that's ever going to drop, and give it to the person that if you see none of them ever again, that you made the right choice, right? So there's different philosophies here. But for me, I would be like, okay, you know, am I giving the rogue glaives first? Am I giving the best hunter this item right off the bat? What about my second best hunter? What does he bring to the raid? Is everybody putting the same amount of effort in? So I would probably, now that I like think about it more, I would probably do my best hunter followed by my warrior, followed by another hunter into a rogue, into another hunter into an enhancement. For the first 6 is probably what I would do. I would alternate it back and forth.
Whoa! I noticed you didn't mention ret paladins.
I'm not really bringing a ret. Sorry. I mean, I play ret in PvP, and I'm just saying, man. Like, I'm not gonna bring that thing into PvE. Like, it's all right. It's decent. It's good. It's also like the thing that people actually overlook about ret paladins is you get to keep every seal up on a boss permanently. And casters love you because Seal of Light, Judgment of Light and Judgment of Wisdom stay on the entire time. So a lot of people really like Judgment of Wisdom, let me just tell you. So having that up the entire time, sure, maybe it's worth the slot. But yeah, I don't know. Ret Paladin at that point, I'd be like, does the guild bank have some gold here? Go run a GDKP rule or something, you know? Like, good luck, sir. But yeah, for me, meme classes, I say meme class. Classes that are not the main contributor to DPS, looking at a DPS item, you are usually going to be put lower on the list because the amount of like benefit the raid gets from it, from you having it, is lower, if that makes sense, right? Because you bring other things to the raid and it doesn't affect your baseline effectiveness. It's kind of like for me as a tank, I'm not the main tank that takes like all the items at the start. I always get things later than other people because I don't want them. Because I feel like there's a few things. One, I like to operate with less items because I feel good giving items away. And two, I feel good being able to do things without having to have those items. I think the only things that meaningfully change my character are Thunder Fury, THC, and Kiss of the Spider. That's literally it. Those are the only things that change my character in any meaningful way beyond like things I had access to like early on. So, and like I didn't have issues using even like Quell Sarar, right? So that might change in TBC, but being able to use your character effectively with those items, well, obviously tanking, the thing that matters is survivability and TPS. Well, can you do that with these items? And threat is binary. You either have it or you don't, right? If I'm 10k threat ahead of you, it doesn't matter if I'm 10k ahead or 2k ahead. As long as I have threat, I have threat. So whatever gets me a lead and keeps me a lead is all that matters. So that's all I care about there. But when it comes to something like this, more DPS is always going to be better. So yeah, I think I would take my best hunter followed by my warrior because I very much value trash DPS. And I really feel like warriors on trash are highly underrated. And I think more and more things are coming out where you guys are seeing like just how fucking good Sweeping Strikes is. Like it's actually pretty insane. I believe without doing the crazy like double Onyxia buff shit, I believe Aluando just put up a 1500 DPS clear Naxx. 2 people put up a 1500 DPS clear Naxx, which is 200 higher than anything during Classic. So the previous record was 1300, and they just put up 2 1500s. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like sweeping strikes is absolutely insane for the amount of damage you can do in a raid, and hitting with both weapons on whirlwind. So yeah, I highly value trash damage, even though I'm like a rogue player and not a fury warrior player. I've played like.
Well, I mean, I feel a lot of people underestimated the rogue DPS going into phase 6 of classic because because even when I was talking to like Fienzi early, he's one of the rogues in progress. He was saying like, maybe it's the time for the rogues to catch up because maybe the warriors are threat capped now, and then the rogues are gonna finally catch up because they get the gear upgrades. But then it just turns out now the trash DPS is too good on the warriors, man. You can't catch up to them. They just destroy you on trash DPS.
Yeah, it just cleaves, right? It's just really that's really what matters. It was funny because I actually overestimated how good rogues were going to be in phase 6 because when I looked at the 4-set bonus and world buffs, I was sitting there going, oh, you finally have something like warriors, because the warriors, the reason they're good is their stats, their attack power, their attack speed, their critical strike, their hit, all benefit their resource generation of rage, right? So the more stats they have, the better their resource generation is, which means they get to cast more abilities. So here it was finally like, oh, crit scales your resource generation, right? So critting gets you 5 more energy when you crit a Sinister Strike, right? So I was like, oh, that's probably going to give you a lot more DPS. Turns out it is a lot of DPS. It's just not enough DPS. But that's why, like, combat potency is such an exciting skill for rogues because it means they finally have a stat that scales, where haste will scale your resource generation. And that's something that with gear that people don't always consider. And that's one of the reasons that I was talking about DST. DST is really good for rogues and warriors because it scales their resource generation, attack speed, etc. Whereas hunters don't really have a resource generation there that it changes their combat pattern at all or gives them more procs, etc. It just gives them purely more DPS, which is something they already do really well. So yeah, but I would probably give it to my best hunter, followed by my best warrior, followed by hunter, followed by rogue, followed by hunter, folled by enhancement shaman. But of course, that always changes with who you have and
your guild goals as well, right? Because the big thing about loot council is if you're on a top tier guild, the way you even look at loot changes, right? Like you don't join a top tier guild necessarily for loot. Like the top tier guilds, if you join like a progress or a dream state or something like that, it's you join it for the accomplishments and the times that you can have and the atmosphere and just beating the game and things like that. But you don't really join to be like, okay, I want full bis on this character, because like one, you're probably not gonna get it, especially if you are like a class that's very valued in the raid, because you're probably gonna stack 500 of these classes. And the other thing is just because like the guild goal as a whole is that they're never gonna look at like your necessarily personal contribution. Or like, well, they're going to look at it, but they're going to look at what contributes to the raid the most, right? So even if you're a all-star, you're killing it, you might not necessarily get the items, because it might just apply like, oh, if we give it to this guy here, we're going to save 30 seconds off our time here. So yeah, he gets the item. And even in progress, when there's an ongoing joke because Fienzi was the rogue class lead, and we always called him CLC, Corrupt Loot Council, because he didn't do ranking. He didn't rank to rank 14. So he would keep getting like the weapon upgrades because they were comparatively bigger DPS upgrade for the raid, for the new weapons that kept dropping to go to him, because the other rogues and other warriors and such all had rank 14 weapons. So like the jump for them was a lot less versus like Fienzi, who didn't have rank 14 weapons. So like in the context of like a top tier guild, the loot council has definitely changed a lot to be a more guild focused thing. But I think for a general, like for me, again, looking back at if this was more of a general thing, I think I would go, at least for my more non-hardcore guilds, I'd probably go, hunter, warrior, rogue, maybe, or hunter, rogue, warrior, something like that. I'd probably just alternate all three, because in like in a non-top guild setting, it seems like it's more even, or it's close enough that I wouldn't really worry about it. It's because the big thing about when you get down into the less hardcore guilds is that you have to keep everyone happy as well, right? Like in a super hardcore guild, you can make loot decisions and be like, okay, the hunters do the most DPS, so we're gonna prioritize hunters a little bit more than everyone else. But then when you get into like the more casual raids or the slightly less casual raids, it becomes a point of, well, we need to gear up the hardcore players who carry the raid, but we also need the casual players to show up every week because they fill the numbers. And you kind of have to get into this balance of how do you balance out the hardcores versus the casuals and keep both sides happy at the same time. It's like this really, I almost feel like balancing loot council in a less hardcore guild is harder than a hardcore guild, because hardcore guild it's really easy to justify what's best for the guild, whereas in a slightly more casual guild it's this really difficult balancing act, I think, in loot council. It's actually why I don't think I don't like loot council in less hardcore guilds, because it's just really hard to implement. It's really hard to implement. I think every loot council I've seen in a less hardcore guild has led to issues because the casual players might not necessarily understand that, like, no, we're giving it to this guy because he's the guy that's really, he's been doing all the support to carry this raid. Like, they might not necessarily understand it. Like, well, I'm showing up every week, I should deserve loot as well. And then you're trying to keep those guys happy at the same time as the other guys happy. It's a cluster trying to do loot council in less hardcores. I actually like prefer DKP almost in a less hardcore guild, because it's just straight numbers. You don't have to argue with people. You don't have to try to educate or convince people, because that's the other thing, is that in a more non-hardcore setting, not everyone's educated on the best gear decisions necessarily. And
a lot of people are motivated by gear, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, is like, if people aren't in a hardcore guild people aren't in a non-hardcore guild to do non-hardcore things, right? Or do hardcore things, sorry. So they're not trying to min-max or anything like that. They just want to play the game. So that's like the person who's going to play Rep Pally or something like that. He's like, why are you saying I can't get DST? I'm bringing the same thing to everybody, same thing into the table that everybody else is, right? And you're like part of the crew. You're one of the boys. You know, you bring your consumes. You help other people with their consumes, stuff like that. You show up to every raid. Why can't you get it? And if you tell somebody like that you can't get it because your class is like not as good, they're going to be very upset. Whereas in a hardcore guild, if you're a rep paladin trying to be in a hardcore guild, you know what you signed up for, because you understand what your role is. You understand what your class is supposed to bring, or what it does and doesn't bring. And getting a spot in the first place at that point is kind of your reward for being a class that is suboptimal, right? It's kind of like right now when somebody plays Boomkin in Classic, right? You bring a Boomkin to raid. You're just like, this Boomkin understands that he's not going to get these good old items right away, right? He's going to have to wait a little bit. So it's true they need DST to get glad. It's the only thing stopping them. No. That's the thing. Is I actually think DST isn't good for Rep Paladin in Arena. As somebody who is actually playing Rep Paladin Shaman in 2s and Rep Paladin Shaman Warrior in 3s, and like planning on getting Gladiator with that composition, you want Brooch and Zerker's Call. Like, yeah, it changes your seal twisting and things like that. You want to use an unused trinket, right? You want to have an unused trinket so you can burst. It's way better for PvP. It's much harder to counter for people, and it allows you to have more control of the situations that are RNG. So yeah. Just a small aside there.
Unused is really strong in PvP, because sustained DPS isn't what you're doing in PvP, right? It's like burst windows and things like that. Is really crucial in PvP.
Oh yeah. Oh god. I gotta tell you, dude, playing Ret Paladin Shaman, very underrated combo. Very underrated. It's very fun.
Wait, does that comp work and you just RNG for like the crazy like round? Is that how the Ret Paladin comp works?
People think it's RNG. It's not RNG, right? It's like, and if it is RNG, it's very much so in your favor. One, you have Wind Fury Totem. You have a lot of things that allow you to not be CC'd, like, using Sack. The guy has Ghost Wolf, so he can't be sapped, things like that. There's a lot of things that you actually have going for you. Wind Fury Totem on top of Crusader Strike, and both parts of Seal of Command, I believe, can actually proc Wind Fury. Wind Fury can proc Seal of Command on either hit, and if you twist it with blood, you get multiple hits of blood in there too. So it's just a lot of damage, and you can pop wings and use Hodge windows on people. It's very, very effective. And also, Bloodlust is incredibly good for allowing you to swing a 3.8 speed weapon at like a 2.6 speed. So if you swing once, you're very likely to be able to swing very quickly again. And Wind Fury plus like all the chances you get to actually proc it, It's very strong. It's good, but easy to counter. See, the thing is it's easy to counter for like double range comps, things like mage, mage and priest and things like that, because you can play center of the map and they don't like to play center. But it's very much so Resto Shaman dependent. The Resto Shaman carries. The Resto Shaman basically has to play like a second DPS, purging your main target, interrupting off casts, putting Tremor Totem down reactively, and grounding the appropriate things, because you have to play with the Resto Shaman. You can't play like a normal healer where, if the healer plays center of the map and you play like near a pillar trying to chase someone around it, you won't get Wind Fury, right? You have to be in range of the totem. So he has to play a lot like a second DPS, chasing your target with you. And then whenever there's a window for him to like throw in a lightning bolt, NS Chain Lightning, he can do it and help you burst. I believe last season on Endless, Resto Shaman Paladin was the number 1 twos composition, and there was like another like top 4 that was the same thing. And on Endless, I know people were saying there was like a different like way that it worked, where I believe it was like yellow hits could proc Wind Fury, but it's still incredibly strong even here. But yeah, and that's without using the Reckoning build. There's a Reckoning build or version of it too that's a little more consistent, but doesn't have the burst control of like Crusader Strike. So, but yeah, no, overall it's a very fun composition. Just I digress.
Yeah.
Into Ret Paladin shit.
Yeah, we went into Ret Paladin somehow. Well, yeah, to wrap up the some of the hunter stuff as well. I know people are talking about melee weaving, whether it should be included, whether it shouldn't be included when you're doing sims and analyzing hunter stuff. The melee weaving is kind of an interesting thing, because if you look at the top percentage hunters, they'll be melee weaving. They're the sweaty tryhards. They'll be doing the melee weave things, but it's kind of tricky, because do you base your judgments on the top 1% hunters who can do it effectively? Because when hunters do it, I guess it depends on your raid, right? Because if you're in a more casual guild, I wouldn't necessarily assume my hunters can melee weave effectively. And it depends on the fight as well. That's the other thing. Is like, if they can melee weave effectively, what is the fight dynamics, or what are the requirements for the fight? Will they be able to go in and out? Are there bad melee mechanics that will force them to not melee weave? Because that also factors in. Because even if hunters say melee weaving is easy once you get the timing right, the fight has to allow the melee weaving to work really well, right? It's very beneficial on a stationary target, but a lot of the fights aren't necessarily a stationary just tank and spang.
Yeah, not a lot of target dummies out there, right? So I would say I don't always I don't always kind of base it on that, but I do base it on the 1% of hunters who can do it. That's why like you'll base things on warrior. Like warrior, I think at one point during like phase 3 or 4 was the highest variance. The it's like a box plot. So they had a graph like that where it showed that warriors actually had the highest variance, where like the best warriors were like by far away the like highest DPS in the game, but then like your average warrior was actually below your average rogue, right? And below like your average, like I think it wasn't hunter, it was like mage at the time, right? So yeah, there's a lot of variance to that, but I will always usually like base what I'm going to do off of the top percentage, because I play with a lot of those players, right? Yeah. And I feel like if I'm not playing with those players, I'm going to go find a guild and go play with those players, right? So that's why I base a lot of what I do off of that. So
yeah, I mean, it's also interesting in what is actually effective in the raid setting, right? Because sometimes you want to reduce the risk of some encounters. Like sometimes like a good example is patchwork, where there's some stuff that you can do, like to give people an example from Classic. You actually, before the lip change, you could lip open on patchwork as a rogue. And that means like that entire opening phase where you're letting the tanks get aggro and such, you don't have to sit there and twiddle your thumbs for the first few seconds while the tanks do that. You could actually lip open and it would not count you on the threat thing. Like you could actually lip open. But when rogues would ask me whether you should lip open, I look at it and be like, well, if you're going for like a world top 10 pass or something, sure, you go ahead. And as long as you let your guild know that you're doing it, so they don't freak out. But yeah, if you're in a setting of like you're doing a speed run, or if you're actually trying to help the raid out, probably don't lip open on the like 1% chance that either you screw it up or it freaks someone else out because the threat table looks funky and they see the rogue up there. There's a lot of things where it's like there's that high potential for upside, but also the high potential for downside where like you have to weigh whether it's beneficial for the raid for you to increase your DPS by X amount at the cost of what could be potentially really bad for the raid in some situations. Where like but at least the upside in TBC is that if you do die, you screw up and you die in trying to do some melee weaving or something else happens, you're not going to lose buffs. I mean, that's the upside. But yeah, for like there's just some encounters like Patchwork is just like the ideal example where something that can gain you DPS isn't necessarily always worth doing in like every setting, particularly in the hardcore setting where it's like, I don't really want my rogues lip opening when you're going for a world #1 speed run at the chance that you wipe the entire raid for like a little bit of more DPS on your top end.
No, I agree. Like the risk versus reward, but like melee weaving will be viable on some fights, right? And it's a good skill to have in practice, but not every fight, right? That's the thing.
Yeah. So it's going to come down situationally for sure. But I mean, that's actually one of the reasons. Like, the hunters might think like I'm biased towards rogues or anything, but I might actually literally be playing a hunter in one of the 3 raids that I do, and I actually like the hunter class. Yeah, because they have. I feel like the hunters, like I think I said this in a previous podcast. The hunters have some of the most things to do. I feel like as far as like rotations with melee weaving, pet control, all those things. It just feels like a fun class to play because I like having stuff to do. Like, I don't like classes where you just sit there and press 2 buttons. It's just, like, not fun.
I think I said this at the end of the last podcast where I am ready for the hunters. I am ready to just have 5 hunters in my raid, and 2 of them are like, actual hunter players, and the other 3 have no idea how to control their pet, don't dismiss it on skips. Like, I am actually so ready. They'll right-click the boss to start their attack before and, like, accidentally pull it. There's going to be so much of that shit, dude. There were people in, like, my classic raid last week who were just like messing up so bad on hunter. It was actually so funny. I actually find that stuff hilarious. It'll wipe us, but it's hilarious to me. So it's great. Hunter is one of the roles that, like, if you mess up, like, is very clear that you messed up. Your pet, you like pulling something, it's very, very clear. So I love that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. No, I like hunters, but we'll see how it goes. It's interesting, like the hunter bring back now. I think there's literally a fight in our chat going on between the hunters and the rogues right now.
Yeah. But like to talk about the DST like a little bit more here. 100% DST like looks like it's the best like during phase 1 here. But the options that are close to it seem pretty close. But on top of that, like it obviously they're the best DPS class, so you would want to give it to them. Now, the other thing that I was talking about was, is it the best at the end of the game? That's the other question I have, is it the best trinket for them at the end of the game? Because I know for a fact that like rogues definitely still want to use it because it's pretty much the best haste trinket proc available to them. And once again, haste affects their resource generation. It's the same thing with like warriors, right? So yeah, that's the other thing that I would take into account here. But right now, based on this, it seems like hunters would be like the best hunter would be the person I give it to, right? So you guys have convinced me for now until I see like what it looks like at the end, right? That's all.
It's funny, like you can just say like one word and the class will be like, yeah, he's with us now, he's with us, yeah. That's how like the class discourse go. They're very they're very flippy on where you stand on the support.
You can't be reasonable and have a discussion. That ruins the whole point, right? It's like you can't be reasonable and have a discussion. You just go like, this guy said this one thing, latch on to it, and then take it to the grave. Like there's nothing they can say to reverse it. But yeah, you latch on to things. It's shock jockeying too. If I were like jumping into that and being like, fuck hunters, like then if I was actually like on top of that,
they got that clip now, Zirene. You messed up. They got that clip now.
Fuck. Oh god. Yeah, but definitely I think like based on this for phase 1, because that's the thing is I'm much more like a forward thinking like long-term player where I don't want somebody to throw away Abyss item just because it was good for them for like 3 phases, right? It's kind of like would you have given oh god. Would you have given a badge of the Swarmguard to a hunter at all during all of Classic, because I did. Well, I think our first badge went to a hunter, even though it's like the best like trash DPS like warrior item. I know that in TBC it's like an insane item for hunters. So one of our hunters got it very, very early on.
Yeah. I mean, my guild gave both Jom and badge prior to all hunters. In fact, the only badge on a non-hunter in my non-hardcore guild is one that he won in a row in late game AQ. So all the so if the hunters think like I'm biased towards rogues or anything, I literally gave all the badges and Joms to hunters in my non-hardcore guild. So they got all of them. Wow. Like I don't even have a Jom. I was using Earthstrike the entire time. Although side note guys, I don't like Jom anyway. I
didn't like Jom. I didn't like Jom. I didn't really like having to play around it. Kramer, I got badge finally last week as a rogue. See, I had badge on my rogue in vanilla, and I actually didn't like it too much. That's a Feely Craft thing, and I was young, but I actually didn't like it that much. I felt like it took a little too long to stack up on me. Sometimes, because there's like sometimes bad RNG where I was just like, this thing is taking forever. Like I pretty much had to use it with like Blade Flurry and stack trinkets with it for it to like feel good for me. And even then, it just felt like other classes were just going to make better use of it. So I was like,
it's a tricky one to use because badge is like, if it's a really short fight, like a really, really short, badge is just amazing because it's just amazing. If you look at the actual DPS numbers, badge seems so good in a super, super, super short fight. But then the longer it goes on, it drops off heavily. It reaches a certain point in Sims where it's like, oh, the fight has gone on for this length of time. Oh, badge sucks now. Everything else beats it. Yeah. Like it falls off a cliff as far as the DPS gain, at least for rogues. So it definitely is better on the other classes. Personally, I think badge. Even though I'm a rogue, I would probably give badge to other classes, just because they benefit more overall. Although that said, I always rolled for it in the open roles because I still want a badge. Yeah.
But it also felt like I was the class that took like too long to actually like stack it up compared to the others. Like hunters like attack quickly and then they multi-shot and stuff. And they can get like multiple procs, and then warriors just like whirlwind, and it's like, oh, it's stacked. Like it felt like a lot longer for me to actually stack it up. Strangely enough, probably just use it for trash DPS and TBC. Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to have a lot of value on trash and TBC because you'll have less warriors, which means things get to 5-stack sunders much slower, and sometimes off targets won't even have 5 stacks of sunder, right? So it's it'll be interesting to see, but yeah.
But yeah, those are hunter talks. I hope you guys hunters are happy. But we can talk about some of the other stuff.
I'm not trying to appease hunters and make them happy here. I'm just
that's
going
right,
off
hunters.
What I'm
play that clip of Zirene swearing again. Play that.
No, I'm not trying to make them happy. I'm just like, okay, I'm presented with this. This seems reasonable to me. But what does it look like at the end of the game is my only question. That's all. But here, for phase 1, if it's still something that you would use at the end of the game, not just like swap on and off or whatever, it's something that you just keep on static all the time, then I would just, I'd be like, okay, hunter, warrior, hunter, rogue, hunter, shaman. Right?
I like that someone in the chat literally just followed the channel just to say fuck hunters.
That's Alini's. He's a warrior that's been in my raid for a while now. He was one of the top warriors in the world until people did the saffron strat, and then he dropped down a few places because we never did the saffron strat. But he was one of like the diamonds in the rough. He actually plays hunter too. But his warrior, he played in my raid for a long time, my casual raid, and then when I went over to Rain, he was also one of the people who went to Rain as well, and became like their number 2 DPS warrior in all clears and stuff like that. So Alini's knows what he's talking about when he says fuck hunters. as a top warrior that also plays hunter and he says fuck hunters, like, I don't know, man.
But yeah, you do have to consider the long term, right? Like it depends on the guild. This is a very guild dependent thing because if you go back to loot councils in Classic, you look at the guilds that took over the Onslaught loot system. Are you familiar with the Onslaught loot system, Zirene? Wait, what is this?
I may or may not be familiar with the Onslaught loot system.
Wait, why? What happened?
I at the end of the last raid that I ran, I was like, okay, I'm taking 2 of my raids and I'm just combining all the good players. And because Naxx was coming out and people were quitting, and it was hard to keep numbers. I'm gonna smash these two raids together, take all the good players, and then like start to do some like speed runs, right? And we did the Onslaught loot system. It's a lot of fucking upkeep. Let me tell you, it's a lot of upkeep in those spreadsheets. Creating those spreadsheets, keeping them up to date, and then bringing in new people and stuff like that. Like the Onslaught system had a very punishing thing for new players, and the Onslaught system works well if you have people in it from the beginning, right? And they had things where like Onslaught, you had to you did 2 phases at a time, I believe. So you did like MC and BWL gear simultaneously. And then when AQ came out, you put your list as AQ and Naxx gear, right? So when we adopted the loot system, it was only in Naxx. So people were like sniping the good items and shit like that from each other. And then when new people came in, you're trying to get new members because people are quitting the game in Naxx all the time, right? So you're getting like a new person every week. And they're like, oh, so I can't get any loot here for how many weeks? So the system had to keep adjusting and being like, so we don't have a revolving door of talent. Like people quit every week and join like a different week and shit like that. So it became a big kerfuffle of nobody was happy. The veteran players felt the system favored the new people too much, and the new people felt like it favored the veterans too much. So 100%. 100% is we basically we tried to adopt it as much as we could, but it just became too late to actually put it into effect. So.
It's funny that you had all those, because I was going to bring up all those as problems with the Onslaught loot system, because there was a period
it was really
of time,
fucking bad. It was bad.
There's a period of time where I felt like almost every guild was adopting the Onslaught loot system. So for the people asking what it is basically it's the way to describe Onslaught loot system is it's almost just like DKP with lists. It almost feels like, but you basically decide your loot for the next 2 phases or the next 2 tiers of raiding when you do it. And once you decide that, it's set for like the next 2 phases. So it's a system that works really well if you have consistent, same people, all on the same level, everyone's tryharding. There's no reward for being better. That's one of the things. There's no reward for performing better or anything like that. It's just like, it's just straight up. It's loot council with lists added in, and like all the items are pre-allocated practically. But it's really good if you're a hardcore guild that's got a consistent raid team that's never going to change, and you just want easy loot, and that's how it's fixed for the next 2 phases. But for everyone else, which is like 99% of all other guilds, it's a horrible system that sucks, and I always looked at it and I was like, why is everyone adopting this stupid Onslaught loot system? It's going to cause so many problems for you guys. You guys don't have static crews. It's horrible.
It sounds super cool. A lot of people, when I been like, I don't want to do loot council this time, like everybody was behind it at first. And then when they filled out their list, they were like, this is exciting. And then when the list got aggregated and points started like going places, they were like, what the fuck is this? People were like excited to fill out the list, because the list is like, it's descending list from 50 to downward, and every slot has 2 slots in it. So you have like a 50, an A and a B, right? And then you have a 49, an A and a B, and a 48, an A and a B. And that's a bracket. The first 3 are a bracket. And then the next 3 are a bracket. And what that means is when things are in a bracket, you cannot put 2 items of the same type in the similar bracket. So from 50, 49, and 48, I can't put 2 weapons in there. If I put Hungry and Cold at 50, Gressel cannot be 49 or 48. It has to be 47 or below, right? So I can't put 2 weapons back to back at the top. So I have to choose. So if I put a trinket up there, like Slayer's Crest, Kiss the Spider has to be down below. So in like 47. And then some items take up both slots. So Gressel takes up both slots A and B, whereas a tier piece would take up 50A, and then you could put another tier piece in 50B. So there was a point allocation system of items took up both slots and their type in that bracket. So it was an interesting one where you had to pick and choose, do I want Slayers or Kiss, right? Do I want Gressel or THC? And then you ended up with like 10 people with THC, and then the other 10 people with Gressel, which meant the people who put Gressel on their list could like never get THC until 11 people had it, right?
Yeah.
But that's because we only did it in Naxx. Whereas what Onslaught did is they made you do it in AQ for Naxx. So you had to put AQR on your list and have it compete with THC and Gressel. So there's things like that happen. So it was really fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's such a, it's one of those systems that's really easy for like the loot council people or the people in charge to implement at the start outside of like the spreadsheet stuff, because then they can look back and be like, hey guys, it's already allocated. We don't have to make decisions. It's already allocated here. But Jesus Christ, does it cause problems?
I also had to adjust it because it was made for Horde, not Alliance. So like they allowed like it said like rogues could put THC on their list. So I adjusted like almost everything else, like Castigator and shit like that, because that's worth more on Alliance side than Horde. And like Hatchet went down in terms of prio and stuff like that, and how many slots it took, etc. But when a rogue put THC at the top of his list, and he was a human rogue, I was like, here's the worst part about that is I pulled him aside and I was like, look, dude, you know how many fucking warriors you're going to make mad about this? And he's like, well, I put it at the top of my list. And I'm like, yeah, but like, you're going to have to swap it, dude. So he swaps it to Gressel, and then Gressel drops that next raid, and I believe he won it. Which made a lot of people really mad. So that was the loot system is a little bit messed up. There's a lot of things in there that just like, it's a lot of nuance. You have to do it from the beginning, and it has to like, you have to be able to like keep the same people, and they all have to be good too. Because I can't tell you, one person got fucking bullied and quit the game because they got like Hammer of the Twisting Nether, and they were a druid, and people were like, it's better for priests and it's better for paladins. What the fuck are you doing with that? You're a fairy fire bot. And then she quit the game.
Turnover really
I
screws it over.
I miss because I feel like the people who bullied her, like, just like shout out to Yanamichi, because like her fairy fire uptime was really good, and she was somebody who, like, you know, in BWL was putting up 99 healing parses, and then had to change to be in like a more competitive guild and no longer heal and more so do fairy fire. So like, I actually still hate that I lost that player to this day, based off that shit, based off being bullied for getting an item that they wanted. And I'm like, damn, that really sucks. But you know, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, to wrap up the loot council and all talk, personally, like it's
a fucking shit show. I hate loot. I hate loot.
Yeah, but personally, my take is that if you're a hardcore guild, I feel like loot council is just the best system. I mean, loot council is the best system when everyone's on board with the loot council system and everyone has the same goals. Loot council is just the best system. And then once you devolve into like the less hardcores, the casuals, the semi-hardcores, that's where you get into the point where, okay, maybe we don't necessarily want to do loot council now. You might want to look at like a GDKP or is it EPGP? Is the one which is basically DKP but with decay put in. I think it's EPGP, where it's just DKP but with decay in to try to fix some issues. There's no perfect loot system, but I feel like once you get out of the hardcore levels, it's very hard to do an effective loot council, because you just run into the issue where, one, like sometimes the loot council people aren't educated. Two, there's more corruption. I feel like happens the lower down you get into like ineffective loot councils and things. At some point, it just becomes easier to not do loot council once you get into the less hardcore guilds. But for sure, I think in perfect scenario, loot council is the best system if everything's perfect.
Here's how Rain does loot, just for like context on this. And I actually find it's probably been the smoothest place that I've experienced loot in. I know other people don't feel the same way, but coming from like a bunch of raids that did loot council, where you'd sit in loot council and be like, well, like you're doing MC, the whole loot council's in there doing BWL loot, and they're not leading the raid and shit. Like, I hated that, because I was a raid leader and loot council member, and it's so hard to do both, because you clear BWL and then you guys have to do MC, or you clear AQ and you guys are doing BWL, and like the raid leader isn't in the chat because they're having to do AQ loot, right? I hated that. So what Rain does is officer meetings on Wednesdays for their Saturday, Sunday raids. They get all the class leaders in there. The class leaders talk about loot, who gets what. Is it a tank thing this week? Is it a like who's up for next Kiss the Spider? Is it a tank or a DPS warrior? They have a tank class leader and a DPS class leader for warriors, and you talk about who's going to get it. And they aggregate a list, and then the loot master looks at the list when it's when the loot drops, gives it to the class leader, and the class leader trades it to that person silently. So you don't know where the loot went until hours after the raid. So there's no middle of the raid like, who got Gressel? who got this? You guys just keep fucking moving, right? Just keep clearing the content. And then at the end of the day, somebody will post in the warrior like channel who like just a little like Excel thing of who got which item. And that's it. And that's it. There's no like further discussion on it. There's no middle of the raid outrage of grats this person or whatever, right? So yeah, it's that's been my favorite so far because it doesn't detract from the officers being in the raid. It doesn't let people focus on loot in the moment, and it makes them have to like focus on continuing to clear the damn content. So that's been my favorite so far.
Yeah, it's funny. The more hardcore the guild, or like the higher, once you get into the very higher ranks, like the reigns, like the progresses and such, I feel like loot becomes less of an issue. You still get the occasional loot issue, but because everyone's on the same page, it's way easier. Like honestly speaking, like the more hardcore the guild, the less loot issues I've ever had because people are more educated. Usually.
Yeah. Well, I also feel like you get hard pushback when you look like a loot goblin. Yeah. Like I feel like in a hardcore guild, if you look like a loot goblin, people like make fun of you.
I mean that's the other thing as well. If you're on the actual loot council, like if you're a good loot council officer, a lot of good loot council people will purposely give themselves a little bit less loot than they could get just to avoid any implication that they could be corrupt and such. Like I know a lot of people on loot councils that purposely sacrifice a little bit of loot just to make sure that there's no challenge here. I'm not corrupt. I'm doing everything fair.
Yeah, I that's what I do because I feel like it's a conscious countering of my own personal bias because obviously I'm going to be biased in favor of myself because I know me, right? I see every single thing I do. I see every single contribution. Who's the best warrior in the raid?
Zirene.
Yeah, not like that, but I mean like I see everything that I do. I know every good moment I've ever done. I've seen all the bad ones I've done. I'm the only person that I watch play every single hour that they're on, right? But I can't watch what you did to help out this other warrior, or did you trade potions to the tank or something like that, right? I don't know every little thing you've done. I know every little thing that I've done for the raid, right? I know every little thing I've done. So obviously you're going to be biased in favor of yourself ever so slightly. So countering that is very important, a very conscious countering of that, because other people are doing things that you will not see, right? And so and they will not be talked about. So you have to kind of take that into consideration as well, and always lower yourself like 2 pegs. On a loot list. So
yeah. So that's loot council talk, guys. But let's
leadership is sacrifice. Yeah, leadership is sacrifice.
Exactly. Like here's the one final thing is that I feel like the best leaders are people that don't really want to be leaders because they know the responsibility that comes with being the leader. Like personally, that's how I feel. Like a lot of times the best leaders are the ones that are really good that don't actually want to be the leader because they know like these are all the sacrifices, these are all the things you have to do to be an effective and good officer or leader, because it's a pain in the butt. It's a lot of work, and they understand the sacrifices involved.
I think like it's actually interesting because I used to think the same way, where it was like I think the people who make the best leaders are the ones who don't want to be leaders, but I don't think that's entirely true because I think in order to be a good leader, you have to understand the responsibility and want to shoulder responsibility instead of like avoid it or anything else. The people who don't want to be leaders will try to phase themselves out like very actively. It's people who understand like the weight of leadership, right? So the people who step up and want to like, because that's why I tank is I feel a responsibility for the enjoyment of other people. So if I play poorly, other people die and then they don't enjoy the next 2 hours of the raid. So I feel that responsibility constantly while I'm tanking, and I enjoy that because I know that I have an impact on like how other people play the game, and I will always try to be better so that they can play to their maximum. And that's like I will like, obviously come to raid with world buffs every single time if I have to like, miss sleep to do so, because I want people to be able to play that way. So it's the whole thing like staying up and allowing people to have a smooth loot system. You spend hours as a leader awake at night, anxious, working on things and making sure that systems are good and thinking of all the things that could go wrong so that other people don't have to, right? So that other people aren't anxious, so that other people aren't worrying. And that's very important. So,
yeah. No, I agree. I totally agree.
Yep.
But Zirene, what do you think about the honor fix that Blizzard implemented? Because it's funny, I think you literally mentioned that, I don't know, maybe one
I think I called them pussies. I think I called them pussies if they didn't do it. I was really tired. Okay? I was really tired. I hadn't slept.
Yeah, well, I mean, the comments on the last YouTube video, by the way, a few people noticed, like, man, the longer the podcast goes on, Zirene's slipping further down into his chair as we get into hour
dude,
two.
I was descending into madness.
But yeah, so these are the honor changes. For people that don't know, I assume you know if you're playing WoW right now, is that they increased honor. They gave double honor gains pretty much for pre-patch on top of the weekend holidays. Honestly, it's still a pretty big grind to grind honor compared to pre, but they kind of threw that out there as like a token. Okay, well, we screwed up, guys. Okay, we screwed up. We don't want to wipe the honor for some whatever reasons. They just decided it doesn't seem they're going down the wipe path. I think personally they should have still gone down the wipe path. I think that would be the cleanest solution. But obviously they're not going to wipe now since they've done this change, which would make no sense for them to give everyone more honor and then go back and be like, oh, yeah, sorry guys, we're wiping all honor going into TBC. So it seems like the wipe path is off the table and they've just doubled honor gains. Do you think this is enough, Zirene?
No.
Like, no?
No. So I have two opinions on this. The first one is I'm glad they did something. And the second opinion is it's not enough because I still feel like it's a huge grind to grind out the honor gear. I have a new 60 Blood Elf, right? Yeah. Blood Elf Paladin. And I can tell you that I'm pretty much going to get 0 honor gear because I don't know if people realize this, but yeah, I mean, the Horde have probably realized this, but like Alliance have instant queues. Your AV is a 1.5 minute queue, 2 minute queue, and then everything else is instant. And on Horde, you literally have a 20-minute AV queue, 19-minute AB, and like 15-minute Warsong Gulch queue. Like you literally got to go play another game while you wait to play the game. And then it just feels terrible. And it feels like rolling a new Alliance character right now, you actually have a large advantage over rolling a new Horde character right now, which is interesting because it means to me, it's kind of like, is that the benefit of rolling Alliance? You know, sure, you get the worst racial, but you might be able to like, you know, get more honor faster. Maybe that's like an adequate compensation, but it feels miserable having to grind honor on Horde side. It feels really bad.
Yeah, it's super slow. Like for example, I farmed on and off while I was doing other work. I farmed 15,000 honor pre the nerf on the nerf going in. And then I farmed the remaining 5k or 4k that I needed for my rank 14 main hand on my new character. And then I was like, I've had enough of this. These queues suck. I'm done with the honor grind. Because, man, the people that actually want to compete with the people that stacked it at the start, they're just making pre-mades and they're just playing obscene hours non-stop just to try to catch up to those guys. It feels very unfair for the people that are trying to catch up now to the people that abused the honor before. So it's kind of, it feels like it's like a token thing that they did something, but it's not enough. It's really not enough if you compare it to pre-gains and trying to like catch up to those guys. Yeah,
I don't know. I can't believe they aren't fixing it or doing anything else about it. I mean, the honor gains being increased by 100%. I'm sitting here going like, these are trash honor gains, right? Like I'm just like, this is bad. But I'm sitting here going, it's more in line with what I remember because I remember it taking like a full week to even get like a weapon in pre-patch. Right. But the thing is, this is a different pre-patch, right? Yeah. It's a completely different game. People have Blood Elves and Draenei now. Yeah. This was not available.
People are losing all their talents and not having any talents. It's a completely different pre-patch.
I mean, come on. I'm talking about like just the nature of this pre-patch is, you know, back then it was like, oh, if you want a Grand Marshal weapon, you can like farm a week to get it. But here it's like people are rolling new characters constantly. People are using a 58 boost. People are rolling Blood Elves and Draenei and have to gear these characters up, right? So, or want to gear these characters up. So it's a completely different thing. This is not your like dad's fucking pre-patch in like 2007. So it's very different. And it feels like this is not adjusted for the new era of what this pre-patch is my take on it.
Yeah, I agree. It feels pretty miserable grinding honor. I have had people ask me though, like, are they still gonna wipe it if I grind honor now? Nah, there's no way. They would. Well, I mean, there is a way, but it's very, very, very unlikely that they would do it now because, again, they would enrage the entire community. I think I think some people would quit if they wiped the honor now because, like, some people have been going so hard. They would be very sad if they wiped it at this point. But the interesting thing is they added the Darkmoon Faire as well, but then it was bugged. So we had the Faire, but for the people that raided earlier in the week, you couldn't actually use the Faire in Naxx Ramus because it was wiping the new DMF.
Yeah, it was wiped. It was really funny because we unbooned. So here's the thing: is our raid, we got double Ani and we got the new ZG buff because there were different versions. To explain to people really quickly, just keep it short. The Ani buff was bugged, and there was a TBC version of Ani, and there was a classic version of Ani. And if you booned and unbooned, it gave you the classic version of Ani. And then if you dropped a new Ani head, it was the TBC version. So you could actually have both. I actually had 66% crit in my last raid on stream as a main tank. It's fucking ridiculous. And it was actually insane. And then the new ZG was, it wasn't movement speed. It was 30. It was like plus 50 stats and then 30% stat increase instead of the 15% and then movement speed. So we went for the new ZG. We went for the double Ani. And then when people had unbooned people had logged out, I think. Yeah, they logged out in Naxx with DMF because I had to unboon to get the Anis. It got rid of their DMFs when they logged back in. So people logged out so that they could save time on their buffs, but they logged back in and their DMF was gone. So it looked like it was like the TBC version of DMF that was like wiping in raids. Yeah. It was really weird.
Yeah, the TBC version of DMF, by the way, pain in the butt to manage because it rolls 1 to 10% and you get the roll when you get it, and then when you boon it and unboon the DMF, it rolls again. So you might have a 10% that re-rolls into like a 1% for all you know.
Yep.
It's so bad.
It's so weird, dude. And then just to speak on buffs a little bit more, there was like somebody was telling me that on how we were talking about like paladins buffing people outside of raid, and then when you pull a boss, it gets rid of the buff. Yeah. Apparently that doesn't happen with the 10-minute buffs. So in 25 mans, you could just have a paladin outside buff everyone with 10-minute buffs and then not have to be in the raid. But I was just like, that doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
So it doesn't wipe the raid.
So for people asking, double buffing is gone. So what happened at the start was you could double buff Onyxia, you could double buff Rend as well, actually. ZG buff is another one where actually if you boon and unboon, it gives you the old ZG buff. So for people that don't know, ZG buff is changed in TBC. It has slightly different stats gains and things like that. And if you boon it and unboon it, it swaps it back to the old version. So anytime you boon, it seems it swaps stuff back to the old version is what happens with things. So, but that was all hotfixed at one point in time, except the ZG buff. I don't think, to my knowledge, I'm not sure if they fixed it yet, but the first fix didn't fix the ZG buff. So you can no longer get double buffs, but if you boon and unboon, I think it's still swapping you back to the old ZG buff from what I recollect. But I'm not sure if they've hotfixed it since I last checked. But that's basically what's been happening with the buff. The buffs have been a mess. But they did hotfix it, so now you can get DMF in Naxx as well. So that was also included in the hotfix. But yeah, welcome to Prepatch, guys. They fixed the bloodthirst though. They fixed bloodthirst for the warriors.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually going to be a large increase to like your bloodthirst damage. It makes it not a trash ability because you literally were whirlwinding instead of bloodthirsting, right? But hopefully it affects everything, like because there were other things too, like exposed weakness and stuff like that weren't benefiting it. So I'm glad they're fixing it. Yeah. But this is what I was saying, where it's like I wish the abilities. When was this posted?
This was, let's see, Blue Tracker.
Posted 1 day ago.
1 day ago. This was the 26th. This was hot fixes from the 25th hot fix.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because we talked about this, and I was telling you, like, even if it worked that way back in original WoW in TBC, the designer intent is different than the execution here. Like, things should be intuitive. I don't want to have to look at a fucking like tooltip or guide and like not have it tell me exactly what it's supposed to do, right? Like, that's the thing I don't like. So I'm glad that they have made this change. Because I feel like it just goes way more in line with my expectation of how an ability should work. So next up is Cloak of Shadows. Yeah,
please. Listen, Cloak of Shadows, just make it 90%. It says 90%, just make it 90%. Come on.
I'm either way here. I'm like, if it was 80% and you guys were telling us 90 the whole time, just make it 80%, right? Just make it say 80% on the tooltip.
All right, Rogue Discord, get on Zirene. Start making hate threads about Zirene now.
I just want fucking consistency. That's all I want, right? That's all I want is consistency. I want the ability to work the way they had intended, which in my opinion is the 90%, because Cloak of Shadows is supposed to be something where it's very, very, very like small chance that it works. And is it 80% only in PvP?
Yeah, only in PvP. In PvE, it's still 90%. Supposedly. They say that, but with the way Prepatch has been working, I am not sure how the game works anymore.
What's the rationale behind that, man? Like, I mean, there's probably something. There's got to be something in there that makes it like that. Yeah. I don't know.
But speaking of things that are really, really confusing at times, let's talk about the feral energy change more. So to recap, for people that don't understand the feral changes, or not the new trick. So the trick is that if you use a weak Troll's Blood potion at the right timing, you essentially can gain energy as a druid, like to really, really simplify it in. But the timing window is at 0.4 to 0.5 seconds to cancel the aura like optimally to do this entire thing. So they have like a 0.1 second window to do this perfectly optimally as a druid if they want to get like that energy back in order to do their full really good rotation. And they have to do this every 4 seconds. Is their rotation. So like if you they give that example here in this article, you need 45 weak Troll's Blood potions in a 3-minute fight if you're going to do this thing. For me, this falls into the thing we were talking about last week, where it's like something needs to change. Just could you make this easier or something? Because I feel bad, because on one hand they don't want this taken away necessarily because they need this to get the old pre-energy change DPS back. To explain the energy changes for people that don't understand them, basically right now is if something happens in the middle of your energy tick that makes it reset. So for example, for rogues, it's if you use Adrenaline Rush and it affects your energy, you get refunded the energy back. So if you're halfway through your energy tick, it refunds you what the energy is worth up to that point in the tick. So by abusing the weak Troll's Blood potion, you can get that energy earlier, basically. And for feral druids, that's really important for the shifting strategy.
But that's how it used to work. Yeah. That's how it used to work. So basically, they're having to use a consume as a workaround. Because when you have something that changes your mana, HP, energy, anything that adjusts your tick rate on anything that's connected to your character, it just resets it. And this is why drink walking works.
Yeah.
Right? So hold on, let me.
Yeah. So for the viewer chat that's saying like, yeah, this is what it's supposed to be. Yeah, we're not really saying that it's not what it's supposed to be. It's more of a discussion here of should this be changed to be less of a ridiculous pain in the butt thing, because the current implementation might not actually be fun. So like this might cut into the fun element of the game, and it's kind of like how Warriors, technically the bloodthirst thing that they just changed wasn't something they needed to change if we were going for the original experience based on the patch number. But if you want to improve the player experience for the ferals, maybe you make this a little bit easier, not as scuffed to do, if you want them to return to the old feral ways.
Yeah, I'm gonna share screen for 1 second here. So this is my holy paladin. I've been boosting on this character, and one of the things, like back in the day, you used to have to drink walk in speedruns in order to keep your mana up and keep up with warriors. You would have to like run, and then the server tick, you'd have to stop and drink, right? But normally you'd have to time it with a server tick. Now, if you drink, which changes your mana regeneration right here on your character sheet, right? It gives you mana instantly. So watch this. I can just run and spam drink. It's going to give me mana back. Right? I'm literally jumping, running, getting 200 mana every time I do this. So that's why I have 300 water on me, because you can literally run and do this at the same time. And it works in PvP. It only works with water, though. You can't do it with food. So if I do it with food, it doesn't work, right? So that means that if mages, you want to make a table that's a mana biscuit, give me the water, because they can't do it with a mana biscuit. You have to do it with water.
Oh, well, I'm sure mages will be really happy about that.
Yeah, it's insane that it works like that, and it's actually just makes it super easy, but it makes you go through so much water. It's actually just insane. but it's incredibly powerful, right? Being able to move at the same time and drink, it's crazy good.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, ooh, there you go, Oniba. This is one of the things that separated, in my opinion, like the old school, looking at old school, before all these changes, looking at good healers and good casters and things, they will be very good at drink walking and things like that. So that was one of the skills, because they had to do this while speedrunning and doing other things in the hardcore guilds. It's not something that was necessarily easy. So, what are your thoughts on the Pharaoh thing? I assume you're probably on the same page where maybe make this less scuffed.
Just make it work the way it's supposed to. Like, because this is legitimately like, this is the drums change all over again, where it's like, what's the point? Are you making it so that players don't power shift? Because they're going to do it anyway, right? Even if it's like, because it's DPS, it's still DPS to power shift. It's not DPS lost to not power shift, but it's just worse than it was, right? And I'm sitting here going, well, just make it work the way that it's supposed to, right? Because even if it's annoying, a feral druid's going to come to fucking raid with like the 500 potions. He's going to do it if he cares about his damage. He's going to go farm Earth Root or whatever the hell he needs. Like the level 8 consumable is countering what they're doing. This just goes back to, like, I've been preaching this. Blizzard has a golden opportunity to make the timeline of WoW not suck, right? You have this golden opportunity to not descend into the shit in Wrath of Lich King that made the game fall apart around Cataclysm and made people not play it as much, right? And you have a chance to make the game enjoyable, even if these things existed back then, right? Because this was apparently a change that happened in like, 2.2 or something like that. Even if it existed back then, I don't care. It's not fun. Just make the game fun. Make it work, right? And you have a better game on your hands. Doesn't matter if it stays true to the way Classic was back in the day. I'm not a purist like that, right? I would rather have something that's modern and works for 2021. And that's what I think they should do, is they should fully embrace that it's a different game, because it's going to be a different game, right? It's not Burning Crusade, it's Burning Crusade Classic. I think there has to be changes to it that make sense. And this one is one that absolutely makes sense, because people are just going to work around it. And if you change something that like messes with tick updates, because you just go, oh, let's just make it so it doesn't do this at all. I don't know. I feel like that's just shutting down like a really clever way of doing something that you should just let them do anyway. So I feel like they should just give the ferals what they want, Yeah. But I'm the kind of guy who's just like, mages are going to boost slave pens. Who gives a shit kind of thing, I'm the kind of guy who's like, paladins are going to like the duo and solo strat. Like, who gives a shit? Let them play the game. Unless it's like completely egregious and like really bad for it, then stop it. But this is something where it's like, you're preventing people from playing the game the way they want to play it. And ferals were never like super dominant DPS anyway, right? Like, they do a lot of damage now if they can actually do their rotation. I think somebody did like 1900 damage on Patchwork the other day, or 1900 DPS on Patchwork the other day, power shifting. But it's not like you're some insane, like, oh, this is completely broken thing. Just let them play the game and let their class work. Holy shit. Let them work.
Yeah, it feels especially bad for the people that played Pharaoh in Classic with the intention of transitioning to TBC now, and they're like, well, you can't just take it away from me now, and like, it's the time of the Pharaohs. I know some people that even swap to Pharaohs because they're like, oh, they have a fun rotation, they're actually good in TBC, and then they get hit with this thing where they change it and like, oh no, sorry, you just lose 25% of your damage. And then now they have this change where it's like, well, we get the damage back, but do we want, is this the way we want to get that 25% damage back? Not really. It's really, really scuffed.
Yeah, but people are like, oh, this is the way it was. This happened in 2.2, so they are making the game this way. But I don't know. It's the whole idea of, like I said last time, right? Like when I was playtesting, it's like you should be questioning the goal of the design intent, even if the design itself is like, you can make it happen. It's like, why would you do this? What's the point? Is this a good goal to have? Yeah. And right here, it's like I just don't think they have the right goals for feral, for these tick regen things, right? The intent of it is not happening in the execution, right? And instead, it's having other issues happen.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Like someone in chat is saying, it's not breaking the game or anything. Just they're just going to be decent DPS if they have this change in, and they're going to have more fun. So why not do it?
Your feral might take your Ret Paladin's DPS spot, so you know that.
Okay, Ret Paladins, get on it. Start spamming Reddit. Ret Paladins.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But what do you think of the giant ban wave, by the way, that went out? So
Dude, there've been a lot of people who got banned, like for many different things.
Yeah. I mean, for a while, like some of my guilds, because like people know one of my characters in progress, a lot of people in progress are like, oh, is this gonna affect the race at all? Like the race for world first? Because if key people get banned in like the top guilds, this could really screw over people's race for world first plans.
Oh yeah,
Like really, really badly. Because for people that don't know, basically a giant ban wave went out. So they banned pretty much, they wiped out the borders, like all the boosted, if you do who, 58 mage or whatever, those guys just all got flagged and they're gone now. But they also hit everyone that was using iMorph, everyone that was using, well, not everyone, but a lot of people that were using iMorph, a lot of people that were using console port, which allows you to use your game controllers to play WoW as well, which I question why you were doing that, but maybe some people have like
turbo controller. No, I don't know.
they have reasons for doing that, maybe
Turbo
disabilities, other reasons, whatever it is. But yeah, they hit a lot of people that got hit by this, and then they're slowly unbanning people. It seems like if you appeal, but it's not like perfect. I know some people that were hit by the iMorph ban that haven't been fixed yet, but they're kind of waiting on the GM or whatever to get back to them.
So, yeah, iMorph has always been against TOS.
Yeah.
So
iMorph is an interesting one because it's almost like everyone knew it was against TOS, but because they never touched them in the past, people would just keep using it.
I mean, this is Twitch with DMCA, right? This is like, you just keep playing music because nothing's ever happened to you kind of thing, right? So,
but yeah, so for people that don't know, don't use iMorph and don't use console port anymore. Because Blizzard has the bans they're reversing, they're basically saying, okay, well, maybe this was a little bit harsh, we'll reverse this, but if you do it again, we're gonna get you. So yeah, don't use iMorph or console port right now.
Yeah. And to let them off with a warning. Yeah, but a lot of people have actually gotten banned. It's really interesting. It feels like they're spending more time on like banning people right now than like fixing the game. Because I know there's completely different departments, I understand. But like a few people that I know have actually been suspended for a lot of name crackdowns happened. A lot of people had to like rename. I had to get a forced name change. On one of my
I have seen you do have some spicy names at times.
Yeah, it was Goatsy, Goatsy TX.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah.
Which I don't know if they said it was Goat Sex or something, but it was like Goats SE and CX after Goatsy.cx, which is an old meme, but it checks out. And so I was like, I don't know what to name my character. So now that character is a Draenei female shaman. It's now a Shami Milkers. So
much better, an improvement.
A little bit better. Yeah. Shami Milkers much more much better than Goatsy. So yeah, but my friend also got he actually got a name change and he got banned for a few days too. And he had tried to appeal it. He did the all right. So his name was PVE retard. Because he was a warrior. He was a paladin who was re-rolling warrior. His name was PVE retard. And he had never been reported. He's had that name for like a year and a half. He's never been reported because he always PVE'd. He would world buff and log. And so when he started doing BGs, and he actually has the Death Charger, he has the mount from Strat, we think that people were like jealous of him in AV or something and like started reporting him because he's on the Death Charger and his name is PVE retard. And so he tried to appeal the ban because he got name changed and got like a 3-day ban or 4-day ban or something like that, maybe even 5. And he tried to appeal it with, one of those famous tickets you put in, as one does. And he said, so this is a misunderstanding. This is my first initial and last name. I am Peter Veritard. So I'm Peter. Just imagine being the person on the other end of that support ticket, just like, yes, Peter Veritard. Yes, I'm sorry. It looks like PVE retard, but my bad. Oh God. But yeah, they cracked down on people for names. Somebody in my leveling group actually got banned until the 1st, like literally the release date. Yeah. So we're like, is he even going to be banned? Because sometimes they aren't timely with their unbans. People are like, oh, does it happen at noon? Does it happen at midnight? So he's banned for. Let me find this really quickly. It's Account suspension until 6/01. The offense is PvP non-participation. We received evidence that this account behaved in Battlegrounds and Arena in a way that detracts from the in-game integrity of World of Warcraft. After reviewing this evidence, we have suspended your account. So for AFKing in AV or any Battleground, you can get suspended for a week for PvP rough. Non-participation. Mm-hmm.
I mean, what
actually interesting?
You just say that. Oh no, I got disconnected. Actually, I got disconnected because Jesus Christ, trying to finish a BG in that first week was rough.
Oh yeah, man, it's I'm surprised. I'm surprised, but I mean, they're doing something about stuff, and they're definitely like doing a lot more banning.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope like outside of all the false positives and like the fact that it could affect the race for world first if people don't get like timely unbans and things like that for the IMOF issues. I'm happy to see that they're being proactive with the bot problem, because to go back, like we're not going to go into a whole boosting talk thing, but like that was one of the concerns of the 58 boost, was that it would introduce a lot of botters who would take advantage of it. They'd level mages to 58 and then just bot all day. But it seems like Blizzard's at least doing something about it. The question is, will they continue about this, or is this like the one wave we get and then we see another ban wave 6 months from now or something, and they're just gonna let the botters do their thing? Because it would be nice if they just keep actively banning all these botters. That would be quite nice. But I don't know if they're gonna do it. I hope so.
I mean, one would hope that they ban the botters, because they've also the reason they introduced like the instance cap was because of botters, right? So if they're on top of that, they never have to reintroduce like an instance cap, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing that I'm looking forward to, because I think the removal of the instance cap has been fantastic, right?
Oh yeah.
I don't like having an instance cap at all. Like I'm doing boosts on my pally now, and it's probably the most fun I've had in the game in a while. Like boosting strat and coming up with new shit. Like I'm having a ton of fun with that.
But yeah, no, I like it. But to speak of the 58 boost effects, I'm really loving the atmosphere of the servers. I don't know about other people, but it's been really nice.
It's interesting
to have so many people back in the game. Like it's lively. Like there's a ton of people around. I know that's the downsides of people are doing ZGs where people have no idea what they're doing because they're on 58 boosted characters and such. But I really enjoy the atmosphere. That's really, really nice at the start of these, where it's like there's all your friends are around, it's lively, there's so much things happening on the server. This is what this was one of the reasons why I was actually for the boost, and like people may disagree, but this is why I want this atmosphere to stay as long as possible. Because for me, this is like peak MMO experiences, when the servers are super busy, we have like tons of people and friends online all the time. I can actually do guild groups all the time right now. Like I was loving a new character, I could actually be like, hey, who wants to go do Strat Home? And there's a bazillion people like, yeah, let's do Strat Home. It's
a lot of people want to do Strat right now. A lot of people want to do Strat.
Yeah, it's really fun having all these people in. And if you didn't have the boost, like, yeah, you'd also have a lot less people that don't know how to play the characters and such. But the benefit of this is there's a lot of people I know that wouldn't be playing right now if not for the boost. A lot of people that came back, or rather like, they might be playing, but I might not see them for a while. they might be leveling down in the low levels, and with the short pre-patch, I don't know if I'd see them for God knows how long before they catch up.
Yeah, and there's like three things with this. Is like, one, there's a lot of like, it's been really good for me, like boosting strat and getting business, because a lot of people want to go from 58 to 60 in like 2 hours. And then the other thing on top of that is there's like, I see a lot of people online, and when I have like a new like 60 blood elf, like people want to do shit all the time, and people need tanks. So like playing prot is like really easy to gear up right now, aside from PvP as Horde, because of the queue times. But the final thing is, when I'm on Fairlina, I actually don't really recognize my server anymore. And that might sound a little strange, but like I just don't recognize almost any of the guilds or people running around anymore. And it's probably indicative of something that would have happened anyway, but like there's so many guilds I don't know that I've never seen before, and it feels like when I log on my blood elf that's on a different server on Sulfuris, it feels the same, where I just don't know anybody, and I don't feel like I recognize any guilds. And it's the same thing on Fairlina. There's all these guilds that have popped up that people have transferred, or like all these new players, all these new things. I'm just like, this is not Fairlina of Classic. This is going to be Fairlina of TBC. It's really interesting. So I just don't recognize my server anymore. And I don't know if that's a bad thing or if it's just it was going to happen anyway, and it was going to change. So,
I mean, Felina might be the most
weird,
popular server now. I was looking at the queue because the queue was at least longer on Felina and Whitemane at the same time, because I play on both characters. The queue was longer on Felina than on Whitemane, and
Felina has been the one people talk about. Yeah,
Whitemane has actually had the higher population than Felina. For a long time, Whitemane was the highest population in WoW, but I think with the recent, like, a lot of people rolling on Felina because it's the streamer server as well and other reasons, I think Felina might be back on top right now for the most biggest WoW server in WoW.
Yeah, I mean, you've been seeing like Asmon come back and shit like that. You see like a lot of the streamers start playing again, and so it feels like Berlina's the new Tichondrius. That's funny because I am on Tichondrius on retail, so god damn. Yeah, it does feel like it's a very populated server, but we'll see what happens. I don't really like queues. I don't think anybody likes queues. I do like a popular server, but I don't like the queues. So I hope this doesn't get in the way of being able to play the game that I pay to play, right? So,
I mean, you won't get in the way, Zirene, if you just queue the day before, and then once the 20-hour queue is done, you'll be good to go.
Yes, just wake up really early and make sure that I don't drop out of queue.
Speaking of the queue, how are they going to do it for like the server start, like TBC start? Are we going to see like, are the servers going to go down and they're going to bring it back up again, and then everyone's going to spam to try to get in before the queue starts? Because Jesus Christ, could that be a mess?
I don't know.
Because that scares me. That actually scares me. Because what if like you get in and then your leveling group, like half of them are stuck in like a 8-hour queue for some reason? That's gonna be messy, man. That's gonna be so messy if you're on the busy servers.
Yeah, it's gonna be insane. I have no clue how it's gonna work. My friend though has a 5-head plan though. He's using his 58 boost on a different server to level that character up and then like gear it and stuff like that on like a low pop server, and then he's going to go all the way to 70, and then he's going to transfer it to Fairlina afterwards. So,
that's actually smart. That's actually
unless they close off transfers, he wants to be like one of the first 70s there, but he doesn't want to have to deal with queues at all.
Yeah, that's actually big brain. Unless he gets locked out, like you said, but that's actually big brain.
It's really funny. Oh, but yeah, he does have a big brain. He's a good dude.
Yeah, but no, I'm liking the atmosphere. We'll see how it goes though, because like obviously the ongoing talk about like boosting and all has always been like, okay, but these guys are gonna disappear again in a couple of months. But we'll see. Like I'm sure a lot of them will disappear, but hopefully enough of them stay. The atmosphere stays for as long as possible. But only time will tell with that one.
Yeah, no clue how it's gonna play out. Honestly, it's a new territory for even me, right? Like how the boost is gonna play out. So yeah, so far I've been okay with it. And it's just kind of made people like run instances again. It's pretty easy to find stuff that you want to do. The thing that sucks though is I've got a lot of questions on my stream where it's like, hey, I just got my boost. What do I do? And I'm like, shit. Like I don't know. Like if I boosted a character right now, like what would I do? I mean, I guess I'd, if I was somebody who like can't afford, because I'm new, I can't afford like a boost in strat to get to like 60. I guess I would just go quest with my green gear and try to like upgrade my gear and then run strat, and then maybe PvP if that's like the honor system or whatever is like the queues aren't terrible. Like you go EPL and that's like it. And then afterwards they're like, do I level professions? What do I do? Should I spend like my time getting professions up? How do I make gold? That's the big one. Is people are like, how do I make gold as a warlock? And I'm like, I don't know. Summon people like.
Yeah, gold making is really tricky right now because it's like a lot of stuff just isn't like the economy is insane right now. Like nothing makes sense in the economy. Like some stuff is really high, some stuff is really low. It's all over the place. Trying to make money is if you don't have your money for TBC already, good luck because it's messy right now. It is messy out there because we're in that weird transition phase where some stuff just isn't used anymore that you would go farm gold for in the past. Like we don't need half the consumables in raids anymore. Like most of that is just junk. Like I went and did the High Chieftain quest on one of my new characters, and it wasn't like it used to be where I would have to fight with 5,000 people to kill the High Chieftain because he drops Winterfall Firewater. Because no one cares about Winterfall Firewater anymore. Yeah,
it's like 40 silver. It's like what? What the heck?
It is funny though that the boosted characters only have 25 gold. I did get a good laugh at that one.
Yeah,
they gave them 25 gold and not even full like big slot bags. Is it 12 slot bags or 14 slot?
I think.
Yeah. And
Cloth
they
bag?
didn't even give them 16 slot bags. They gave them 14 slot bags.
I think they have journeyman backpacks or something. I don't even know what they have. It's 12 slot. They have 12 slot. Okay, that's why the journeyman backpacks are like 4 gold now. Okay. That makes sense to me. They're 14, but were they reverted? Ooh.
Yeah, they made it even worse. I think I feel like they bordered on the okay, so no one can complain that these boosted characters have an advantage. We're just gonna give them the worst gear imaginable, like the worst gear you could ever imagine, and this way no one can complain that they have an advantage. And then we're only gonna give them 25 gold.
Yeah, you can't keep buying this and getting gold from this. Oh man. Yeah. It's interesting. It's really interesting.
But for people to answer that question though, for people that do want to know what to do on your like new 58, it's actually very fast to level from 58 to 60. I did it without boosting. Literally like 3 to 4 Scholomanters will get you there. Like same for Stratholme. For people that have seen that Rested XP add-on that a lot of people are using and promoting, like full disclosure, I am a partner in that as well. But the Rested XP add-on is quite good. The 58 to 60 portion is actually free. You actually don't have to pay for that. So if you want just a good quest leveling add-on, the Rested XP is free from 58 to 60. And it's one of the best leveling add-ons personally. But again, like full disclosure, again, like one thing I've seen a lot of people promoting this Rested XP add-on. People need to know, like, because I feel like a lot of people aren't savvy with internet marketing or like disclosure agreements and things like that. If you are partnered with this and you're getting money for promoting this, you
have to let people know.
Have to let people know. You can't just be like, oh yeah, this add-on's really good, guys. Follow this link in the description. You have to let people know. That's why I'm very clear when anytime I mention Rested XP, I am partnered with them. It is an affiliate link. If you join and sign up through them, it's an affiliate link. But I think new content creators do need to know. You can get in trouble for that if you don't disclose.
Oh yeah. You could, because then you're just like, wow, look at how great this add-on is that I have no part in. Wow, this is amazing, guys. It works so well. And people need to know that you're actually getting paid. So,
yeah, exactly. But I'm enjoying it on my 58. For my 58, I did rank 14 main hand because it's a rogue. I did rank 14 main. I just wanted something. But at this stage, I don't even know if I would recommend that path for people because Jesus Christ, it takes a long time to farm 19,000 honor, and we don't have much time left. But that's what I did. I got the rank 14 main hand, and then that's it. That's literally it. I did the rank 14 main hand, and that's about it. I don't have time for the other stuff. But I know some people are going insane on the grind. I know some people with 58 boosted characters that have like 70,000 honor and almost 100 of each mark and such. They've just been grinding like crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but honestly, for the most part, I don't think you have to worry too much. If we're going to TBC, you replace a lot of that with quested. As long as you can complete quests, you're pretty good. Like there's a lot of decent quest gear you pick up along the way. It's just at least from a DPS rogue perspective, my rogue has had no problem just questing. He's been doing okay.
But, as long as you can complete quests.
I say that because I was thinking about it. I was like, wait, I remember the gear my rogue has. He's got a trinket that doesn't even have attack stats on it.
Good lord.
Yeah, I think one of the rings, by the way, if you need good rings on a boosted character, get there's a lot of people loving druid crafting. You can get like 1 gold rings from the auction house right now that are better than the boosted gear.
Yeah.
But
I don't think grinding on is that hard. I mean, it's not that hard. It's just time consuming. It's very time consuming, especially if you're horde side. That's the big problem.
Yeah, the queues are so long, man. The queues are so long.
Yeah. Just insane.
And you need a pre-made to really make like fast progress there as well.
Yeah.
But there's one thing that's popped up while we've been doing this that a lot of people want us to talk about is the whole Oceanic issue. So I actually already had this on the list of topics to cover, but since we started a podcast, there's been more stuff coming out about this. Basically, what Blizzard is doing is they are putting the Oceanic groups with the NA groups so that they'll have a bigger pool for PvP. So this means like, because in the past, the problem with Oceanic rounds, and I'm someone from Australia, in original WoW, I did play from Australia as well, so I understand the pains there, is that the pool, if you're just in Oceania alone, is very small. This happens in every competitive game. Like in League of Legends, for example, the competitive pool for playing high-level rated games is really rough because there's just not enough people. It's not enough people. You spend half your day just waiting in queues and things like that. And then people just end up making smurfs. But what Blizzard is doing is they're combining both the NA and the Oceanic realms as far as queuing together for PvP goes. So at first, someone asked me about this when it first released, and I was happy about it because, from my opinion, like queuing, the queues get really unfun if you're a high-rated arena person in a small group like that. But the problem now is that there's a lot of lag issues coming up, because the problem is that you have to combine, like the Oceanic people basically have to PvP at 200, 300 ping, and it's definitely a big disadvantage, and it's causing a lot of issues. There's a lot of issues. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this, Zirene?
It really depends on the execution of like the ping, right? Like if it's completely seamless and they have like some like it's really like normal ping, then it's not a problem. But it's gonna put them in a pool of like it's gonna put them in a pool of players that like is probably going to dwarf them, and I'm not sure if the ping is going to be good. So
it's not good. It's very bad from what everyone's been sending me. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. There's a lot of complaints from the Oceanic community right now because it feels really bad to play, because they've gotten used to playing with like non-bad ping, and it is a definite like very noticeable disadvantage to PvP.
Isn't there a closer server they could play on? Just like,
I mean, in the past, like what happened with a lot of games is Oceania would be grouped in with like Oceania, with Indonesia and places near that, like SEA region is what they would do, but it's causing a lot of issues. It's causing a lot of issues. Well, I mean, someone just linked to me. It's basically just a big thread of just Oceanic players complaining about the lag. It's basically made a lot of stuff just feel very unplayable for people that are used to like a snappy ping. They're now playing with like that 300 ping lag. So I don't know. Yep. Would you rather have a deal with a very small pool and have that higher quality PvP experience with the longer queues, or would you rather join a battle group?
I mean, quality always matters to me, but yeah, I feel like as soon as there's an issue of like you cannot play the way you want to play, the frustration factor is higher. I would be more frustrated with latency than queue times, right? Because at least I can play the game.
I mean, that's the general
when I get into
general idea I'm getting from a lot of Oceanic guys. A lot of them completely hate this. I've gotten so many messages from them. They hate this. They can't play. Yeah, like you said, they can't play the way they want to do it. They would take the smaller BG groups in exchange for just being able to play the way they want to play. Because like for people that don't remember the way it used to work, way back in the day, Oceania was on BG9. So the two unofficial servers I played on both of them was Blackrock for PvP and Proudmoore for PvE. This was how it was way back in the day for like Blizz-like experience. And you could still get Gladiator. Like I got to Gladiator raiding, playing with like the 300 ping or whatever it is. But there was a lot of scuffness that had to happen. You just adjusted. You just dealt with the fact like there's some stuff I just can't do. Some things I can't compete on because of my ping. And it got to the stage as well that a lot of people who were at the high end, it was almost mandatory to spend like the $5 to join one of those tunneling services, because that was one of the few places where tunneling, like for people that don't understand ping tunneling, you can get a better route to the server if you're in a different country sometimes, just due to how your internet provider routes it to the WoW servers. So a lot of Oceania servers players would buy ping things. I think that was literally one of the first ever ping reduction services, and it was for WoW Oceania players who wanted to play WoW with a slightly better experience. So everyone back then in the Gladiator ratings were paying $5 a month to this one service to tunnel your ping to the US. So yeah, I think they should revert it, honestly. If people hate it this much, because the experience is completely different and people have gotten used to things. It's kind of like managing player experience or player expectations. Like you can't give them something and then for this long and then take it away, and now they're used to that old thing and they want it back. It feels bad. If they had been playing on 300 ping the entire time, it's one thing, but to let them play on good ping service and then take it away from them is going to feel really bad for them.
That's going to feel terrible. That's going to feel god awful. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a better solution to this, unless they really have like a way that it's like flawless. So, I mean, I don't know how they would make a decision like this and feel good about it, where they're solving one problem and causing another, if they didn't have a way to actually like make that other problem non-existent, right? They're solving the problem of queue times while introducing the problem of potential ping. And if they said, well, this is a sacrifice we're willing to make, and they aren't saying, oh, we have a way to fix the ping, then this is absolutely terrible. So I have no idea what they're going to do with this, but it just seems like it remains to like a bad decision until proven otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, Oceania server players, I'm with you. I understand. I played from Oceania as well. I agree. I don't think they should do this. But yeah, to go into all the pre-patch issues, Jesus, where do I even begin on this? We got pre-patch has been an interesting experience. So have you seen this one, Zirene? Have you seen this one? So this is something that Tetsu actually passed along to me. Have you seen the auction house bug?
Which one? The one with like, is it the one where the guy buys like
chrono boons and then he loses like 10,000 gold or whatever it is, like,
and then it kicks him out?
Yeah. So for people that don't know, this guy bought chrono boons, but it seems like he didn't buy the chrono boons that he was supposed to buy. Like the auction house just gave him the trolley 900 gold chrono boons instead. When he
gave him the one that's third down. It gave him the third one down.
Yeah. So I'm gonna play the video and you can see he's gonna buy chrono boons like normal. All right, so he's gonna go buy his chrono boons. He buys out. And look at his gold stack. He's down to 2,000 gold now. And then that's just it. So this is really messed up. This is really messed up. There's a whole thread on Reddit going on for this right now. And it's they're trying to work out if did this guy have an unauthorized add-on or some corruption in his add-on, like a weakaura or something. But from what people have seen so far, no one's found anything. The guy even uploaded his folder for people to sniff through and try to find, like, maybe there's some scammy thing in one of the add-ons. Someone uploaded a bad version of Questy or something like that that's doing this hack. But so far, no one has found anything yet. There's people talking that potentially there's something with auctionator, I think it is, auctioneer that might be making things screwy, but that's just like a guess. They haven't found anything that's proven that this is what it is. So the guy's put in a ticket. Blizzard hasn't been able to resolve it. They've said that they don't know what's going on. They just guess that, oh, maybe you have an add-on that did this, and he's just kind of out of luck. So it really feels bad. I've told everyone I know to not to use like TSM or something that's reliable. But yeah, this guy wasn't even using Auctionator at the time. This is just in the default auction stance, and he got his gold taken away, which is pretty messed up. Like it's really messed up, really, and it's happened to multiple people. That's the scary thing. It's not just this guy. It's happened to multiple people that we know of. So it's a really bad bug. I don't know. If this happened to me, I would, and I wasn't like a content creator, I wasn't in the WoW scene, I would quit. I would really quit if I just suddenly lost all this gold.
You didn't have a clip of it, right? You didn't have a clip of it?
What's that?
Anything like that? You didn't have a clip of it? Like evidence showing, right? You didn't have anything like this?
Yeah, the thing is he has evidence and they haven't done anything about it. So I don't know. It feels really bad. But this is just like the start of many bugs, right? Like, where do we begin with this stuff? Dodge isn't working. Dodge is literally just not working. For people that don't know, Dodge is not working. So the Warrior Discord and Fight Club and Mage and those guys all tested out that Dodge is literally not even working right now. Or really? At least it seems like nothing's happening with the Dodge that you have. Like, it's not affecting stuff.
Okay.
Which is kind of like a big issue. So they tested it, and then
is that an everything thing or is that a Warrior thing? Because we had it also looks like he's that guy is in the beta, right? He's not on live. Yeah, he's doing that on beta. That's beta. He's a level 70 character. So that's not on live, but I don't know if dodge rating is going to have that effect, because I can tell you like straight up.
That, he's got the Darkmoon cards, yeah. So this is definitely beta.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell you straight up that like we've done the Vesuvius
Yeah,
pull.
no, he's 70 as well. Yeah. the 70 is a big giveaway, guys. The 70, thank you.
We've done the Vesuvius pull with evasion multiple times, and it still works. So dodge rating might be broken.
Dodge from evasion is working. Dodge from evasion, because dodge evasion adds it adds a flat effect, like because the evasion adds a flat like percentage gain, so it's working.
Yeah. But you would expect the rogue to get hit by at least one of the adds of Vesuvius over the course of a few seconds while evasioning, and then having to do that pull multiple times because your priests suck, and having him do it and not get killed over and over again. It seems like a really low chance that if dodge wasn't working, that he would not get hit. So it might be dodge rating, not dodge from like agility and dodge from abilities. Right?
Yeah, it's just dodge rating. Yeah, that's correct.
Jeez.
So it's just I don't even know what to say about this, because this is just the start of all like all the things broken. And then have you seen like the tier 2.5 bug as well? Like this was something I knew about from a long time ago that I didn't.
It's been around for a long time.
Yeah, it's been around for a while, but mages have been trying to keep this on the down low. And now it's not on the down low because Joker put it out there to everyone. But basically, for people that don't know, is that the Mage tier 2.5 set is giving infinite mana basically, because it procs clear cast on each tick of your Blizzard. So you see here in this video that Joker is just basically going to get a whole bunch of clear cast procs. Look at those clear cast procs going on nonstop. So you basically just cast Blizzard and you get just infinite mana with 2.5. And it's really broken, and they really do need to fix this, because Mage is just infinite mana right now.
Yeah, it means that they'll be able to farm slave pens without having to really have any skill involved if you have 2.5, right?
Yeah.
Because you'll never run out of mana, and you can constantly Blizzard and not have to worry about it. And that's the only like limiter, was with the AoE cap, you have to make sure that you're using Blizzards at the right time, especially max ranks ones. So it slows it down. This will speed it up quite a bit. But yeah, the 2.5 set, it's a 3-piece set that does it. It's the one that gives you 30% chance to have Blizzard be uninterruptible. So it's it's
very buggy.
There's things.
It's gotten to the stage with all these bugs that, like, when people tell me like, oh yeah, this isn't functioning the way it is, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, this is pre-patch, because now I'm more surprised when stuff is working than when it isn't working, because people just come up to me with like the craziest stuff. Like, have you seen the talent bug happening? Like, people are just like logging in. One of my guildies the other day was like, hey Sno, did your talents reset? I said, no, my talents are fine. And he's like, yeah, my talents reset and I don't have any talents. So he's just like this max level character with no talents and no talents to spend. And apparently, like, you put in the ticket and Blizzard just says, we're looking into that. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's a bug, a known bug. Good luck. That's it.
Wow. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy.
But yeah, it's happened to a bunch of people I know. And then like, people are just getting different talent trees given to them and such. Like, I'm sure you heard about those ones where priests will suddenly be shadow spec and they'll get all the holy stuff as well, and like they'll get all the it's crazy. Like, the entire pre-patch is broken. I don't even know what's going on half the time.
Apparently it was something with like, you could just go to your trainer, and if there were different ranks of a talented ability, like vampiric touch, or like anything that had multiple ranks of it, like, unstable affliction rank 2, you could just learn those ranks. So as a warlock, you could have like the dark pact, you could have unstable affliction, you could have all everything, right? You could have shadow fury or whatever. So it was apparently something with that where you could just go to the trainer and just learn those, so without having them talented, because that was only like the first rank that you had to talent. So things just are getting broken left and right, and it's insane. And this is where I want to talk about like Naxx, where like doing Naxx on pre-patch was really interesting, because it is just downright just different. There's so many things that are different in there. Like, I got teleported on Heigen while main tanking.
They have fixed that, though. They have fixed that one.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Why did it happen in the first place? Yeah.
I got TP'd, and then like our best DPS warrior is like, what the fuck just happened? And he just dies, just straight up gets clapped. Like, I'm sorry, Weeaboo Jones, but Holy moly. Like, it was insane. On Saffron, you can't even play if you have a computer that's like, not even in the last like 2 years. It lags so much. The blizzards are like there's like 3 blizzards in every place. Right?
Oh, apparently it's not fixed. They said it was fixed, but I guess it's it's rebroken now.
they said it was fixed. They said it was fixed, but it ain't. And like the blizzards are just like, they lag your computer to all shit. The cleave arc is larger now on Saffron. If you're behind a block that's right next to him, you can auto attack him while he's in the air now, right?
Yeah.
You can just auto attack him while he's in the air. And if you are behind an ice block that's close to him and you can still attack him, if you attack him, you'll die because it
counts you as in range because you're hitting. Yeah.
It counts you as you're in range because of leeway. So if you're behind a block hitting him, you got to stop attack. KT, the void zones are massive. They're way bigger than the things look. And so you're just going to die from something you can't even see. Yeah. And God, it's just insane. Just all the little changes.
We got so many people on KT who were like, I was out of the range of that. And I was like, no, you got to go way further. You got to go way further. just run all the way to the other side.
It's insane, dude. Like,
and I mean, well, how many days out are we now? We're not even a week out now. How many days out?
We're like 5 days.
Well, 5 days out. At one point, I was having this discussion on the Rogue Discord, and I was saying, like, at this stage, like 50-50 that they don't find just an absolutely game-breaking bug that just forces a delay. Because I know they don't want to delay, and at this stage, it seems like Blizzard's committed to not delaying it. But Jesus Christ, these bugs, man. Like, every day we find something else that's broken in the game. And the scary thing about, like, the dodge rating bug, for example, where dodge rating isn't working, is that that's coming from Warrior Discord, which is very extensive with testing their things. The Warriors are one of the most active classes of testing stuff. How much stuff is broken that we still haven't found? If dodge rating is literally just not working. There's got to be so much stuff that's just broken that we just don't know about yet.
Yeah, and it's funny because there's a guy in my guild. He's the guy who said the human RNG. You know, when we were like the Mag there and the wipe, he's like, oh, he's just human RNG. He also comes up with crazy ideas where he's like, you know how the game works. Maybe if we clear all the ads on KT, it'll activate him for earlier. So like now we're pulling shit like all the KT ads for fun just to try and see if something breaks. Like now it's at the point where you don't know how things work. Like the fact that a weak Troll's Blood potion gives you energy ticks is insane. So yeah, I don't envy the position of the people at Blizzard who have to work on these things, but at the same time, it's probably not as simple as, hey, go fix this. It's probably a conversation has to happen of, how is this supposed to work? Do we want to change it? And then eventually it's like, how do we change it / fix it? So you first have to get the change like approved before you even make it or be approved to work on, right? So it's probably a whole process that is just keeping things clogged right now. So
yeah, I mean, almost like every content creator on WoW on Twitter right now is just nonstop tweeting is like bugs, and it's always followed by like 1 week from launch, guys, or 5 days from launch, guys. I've talked to people who supposedly have said that the TBC team for WoW is maybe only like 10 people or something like that. And if it's really is that small, I don't know how they even begin to fix all this. Like, where do you even start now? I guess you start with like the most game-breaking ones, but at this stage, it's just piling up on and on. I don't even know what they do. Like, I hope they're getting good overtime pay because there's no way they fix these. These aren't even like easy to figure out bugs, right? Like, how did Heigen teleport just randomly get broken? Like, everything's just breaking, and it's not even obvious stuff like, oh, you just gotta change the HP here and we'll be good. They gotta really like dig into code and figure out like where these things are happening, and it's getting more and more. And someone in chat brought up a good point. It's like, let's say they don't delay, because I think Blizzard really doesn't want to delay. They really seem to be committed to just rushing this out. Like, what if we find game-breaking stuff and they have to roll back? That would be like really bad. That'd be so bad for the look of the game.
Yeah, man,
it's just really disappointing, man. It's just so disappointing.
Obviously we want the game to be good, so
yeah. Like someone in the YouTube comments last week was saying that, man, you guys are complaining so much. This podcast is about complaining now. And it's like, have you seen the state of the game? It's really hard to not complain when this like literally is the most broken I've ever seen a game this close to things.
Yeah, we're not mad. We're just disappointed. Like the Blizzard as a company used to be known as the company that had polish on their games, the Blizzard polish, right? That's the thing that in Riot Games,
I mean, this saying used to be like it used to be the ongoing meme where they'd be if Blizzard says like 1 month, it's actually like 6 months or whatever, because Blizzard wouldn't release stuff that like it would be an acceptable level when it was released. And right now the entire game is just broken. Like every day, like the entire game is broken. I don't even know what to say. Like just basic stuff just doesn't work.
It's frustrating. Yeah. Because it was working. Most of the things were working. And now it's just like things are breaking left and right. And it just feels like, I mean, it's got to feel awful over there for sure. Like, I don't want to complain. That's the things I don't want to complain. I want it to be good.
Yeah. Yeah, and Tommy Salami in the chat also bring up all the quests that's broken. So he actually sent me he tweeted me this list of like all the quests that's broken, because Tommy's one of the guys behind the Rested XP add-on, which by the way really good. Again, I am affiliated with them, but I think it's a very good add-on. But it's they like there's a whole bunch of quests broken as well, a whole bunch of quests, and those are definitely not getting fixed because I don't know if they have time for that. Like good luck fixing that when dodge isn't working. And like bosses are just breaking left and right. I don't even know where they begin. I just don't know. It feels like the way Blizzard's gonna go, and I think this is what everyone's saying, is that they're just gonna release it completely broken, and then they're just gonna slowly fix it over phase 1, and people will just have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there's some game-breaking stuff as well that I hope they fix, because I know of exploits where you can like infinite turn-in level right now. Like, I won't say what they are because I don't want people to abuse them, but there are exploits where you can infinite turn in and just level really, really fast right now that have been reported. So Blizzard, if you're checking them, my guildies have reported them, so please fix them. But if they don't fix them, people are going to level very fast. And I don't know, maybe there'll be some bans handed out for people that abuse those things, but there are some repeatable infinite turn in things that do work right now for leveling as well.
Wow. You want to send me those? Wow. God. I mean, I don't know what more to say on that, because it's just like there's so many bugs. It's demoralizing, right? And I'm sure it's demoralizing for them as well. But I just don't know where they would start with these types of things. It's so much.
It's like guys, obviously we don't blame like the devs or the guys like working on this actually, because I think the team just isn't big enough and they're being rushed, right? Like I don't think that they want it to be out like this. They're just like a small team supposedly. That's what I've heard, is they're a fairly small team and they're trying to fix all this stuff, and I don't think they have the time. I don't think they have the time. And again, like we said last week, if they do delay it, like let's say they delay it 1 or 2 weeks, like they'll also have a lot of people angry at them because people took time off. But at this stage, like I don't, it might be best for the game to anger the people that got time off, because Jesus Christ, is the game broken.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, somebody's gonna be mad. Somebody's gonna be like, upset, unless they somehow like miraculously find a way to just get everything fixed, which I don't think will ever happen. No, we'll see.
Well, I mean, at this stage, it's like they fix one thing and 2 other things are broken, right? It's like the list is just getting longer.
It's standard coding. Yeah, that's the procedure. Fix one thing, break 2 more.
Yeah,
it just happens.
It's rough. But yeah, that's where we are on the pre-patch. I again, like Zirene, I don't know what else to say about that. It's just everything in the game is broken, and like every day, because I stream like a few times a week, and people come in like, "Hey, Sno, yeah, this happened to me, and I don't know why. Like my mount disappeared, or like I boosted a character and it was a hunter instead of a rogue that I picked."
Why do I have no belt? I still have no belt. Yeah. My dwarf is wearing a crop top. Like I don't understand.
Well, at this stage, like people ask me questions, and sometimes I'm like, I have to preface everything with like, but this is pre-patch, so my answer only is acceptable if it's working as it's intended. Like someone asked me about like Dark Mental, if Dark Mental was still a thing. And I said, well, if the proc rate is correct and it's what's supposed to be, it's not a thing. But it is pre-patch. For all I know, Dark Mental is proccing 10 times a second, and it's the best piece of gear in the game right now. It's getting ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous to the point where I don't even know what to trust half the time. Because like people could be trolling me and it's believable because of how much stuff is broken.
Yeah, but you don't even know if it's supposed to work that way, right? That's the thing. So it might be working one way and you're like, this is the best thing. And then it's like not actually supposed to work that way. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really hard to tell. Because like a lot of this was we're taking Blizzard's word on it as well, right? They're like, oh no, we found this old ancient archive of this, and this is actually the way it's supposed to behave. You guys were actually mistaken. Kind of like one of the proponents of riposte being on a GCD. Supposedly riposte was actually always on a GCD at this particular point in TBC. At least that's what I've been told. Even though like a lot of people are used to riposte not being on a GCD. But it's one of those things where I don't know. At this stage, like I don't. It's hard to analyze when we don't have all the information. And so many things are broken that you can't even tell what's broken and what's bugged anymore, or what's actual behavior.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, even if you got to parse those things. Even if it's broken and it's not supposed to work that way, is it good that it works that way? That's at the end of the day, is this a good thing? Is it a good thing? Well, then, yeah, it doesn't matter if it's working well, if it's working as intended or not. Then it's probably a good thing. If it's not a good thing, but it's working as intended, you should probably change it, like the feral stuff. So that's my opinion on it. Is I just care about what's good for the game, what's not good for the game. But there's a lot of bugs that obviously aren't good, right? So
yeah, probably your tank probably shouldn't be getting ported on a Icon.
I'm gonna be honest. I have big fatigue from this conversation of bugs, dude. Like I'm getting just fatigue of this conversation. It has to keep happening, though. Is the thing? It has to keep happening. You can't, just because I'm fatigued from the conversation doesn't mean that, we should stop talking about it. It's just, I just hate having this convo over and over again, but it's one that has to happen. And if you just like brush it under the rug, then obviously, you aren't holding them accountable. So I just hope that I don't have to have this conversation next week, which I'm sure I will. So
100%. I can't wait to see. It's almost like last week we already talked about all the bugs in Prepatch, and somehow this week we still have a whole nother set of bugs in Prepatch to talk about because even more stuff got discovered. And I feel this is just going to be the way forward. Like a third of the podcast every week is just going to be like, here's the weekly bug report, guys. This is also broken.
We had to find a segment name for it.
Yeah. We actually do. I gotta start making some. On-screen overlays and things for the weekly bug report.
It's the Scarab Lord section.
But yeah,
it's the weekly bug report.
But I mean, that's what I got for this week. You got anything else to add?
No, man. I just think it's just ridiculous. That's all.
So TBC 5 days from launch, guys. Let's go. Let's get excited. Come on, everyone. Get excited.
At least they're fixing Frost Nova. Then on a positive note, and Bloodthirst, Poggers. So they are fixing things, right?
Yeah.
They're fixing things. There's a lot of things to find and fix, and hopefully not break other things. So
yeah. But yeah, thanks for hanging out today, guys. We will see you next week for the weekly bug podcast. We'll have more bugs to report on. See you guys next week for the breakdown. This has been episode 13. Take care.